Okay, welcome back. City of Grande Prairie Operation Budget Discussions, Day 2 afternoon session. Mr. Anderson, you're going to lead us into the next part, which I think you said was community group funding. Is that correct?
Yes, Mayor Given. It's council and committee referrals. Most of it's related to community groups. So we'll go through the slides and each director will discuss the items there.
Okay, where are we going to start?
Starting with safety.
Sure. And is there a slide for that you wanted up, Ken?
Yes, there is.
Okay. Okay, and so maybe, just to make it a little bit easier, we can just leave the slide up and the directors can speak to them as we go through, rather than just switching back and forth between the director and the slide. Just leave the slide up for everybody's reference. Mr. Galante,
okay.
This is you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So the Community Safety Service Area has received 4 requests for operational funding for the following groups: STARS, Grande Prairie and District Victim Services, Technical Search and Rescue, and Grande Prairie and Area Safe Communities. Information is on the screen. So I will speak briefly about the current level of funding in up to 2014, and then the request for the different groups for the 2015 to 18 budget cycle. The first community group is STARS, and basically the request is due to a higher number of missions flown over the last few years. The level of funding that we're showing here, $50,000, has been maintained over the number of years, and they're looking for an increase in an additional $50,000, so a total of $100,000 for the period 2015 and 17 and 18. And in a nutshell, basically is an increase almost in 3 times the number of flights compared with 3, 4, 5 years ago. I don't know if you need more details on that, or can I move to the next group?
I see somebody in the queue, so we'll stop there. Councillor Rice?
What are the STARS?
The helicopters?
No. On the chart.
The asterisks.
Okay, ask.
Oh, okay. For 17 and 18, that means that we have included in this budget the 2014 levels. And as you may recall, except for certain community groups under community living area, these groups should appear in front of committee every 2 years with a request. So 2015 and 16, we have allocated that, and then we wanted to highlight that we included these numbers on the budget as well at 2014 levels, but they will show up again in 2016 to confirm the level of funding for 17 and 18. But the baseline is the 2014 budget level.
So if they came in 2016, and if by some chance we had extra money from something, we could then increase it, even if we didn't make a commitment to do that today.
That's correct.
Thank you.
Councillor Tarrant?
Thank you, Mayor Given. I'd like to flag this item.
Okay. So just to clarify, so these are administration has included the amounts that were shown on the screen, and so I think we're actually kind of at the point where we could be making motions of what we want to have. This is because it has been referred by CCW, from different committees, excuse me, thank you, different committees. And so this is the point where we decide how much we want to reflect in the budget.
Okay. Well, then with that said, I would make a motion that this item be removed from the budget.
So this is so this is where we're going to get in, as we get into dealing with flagged items and specific motions. Just I'd ask council members to reflect when you say this item, if you mean 100% of the item, just say that there be 0 funding for whatever organization for and the period of time. So if it's the total amount for the full period, say so.
I guess the motion will be to remove all funding from STARS from the 2015 and 16 budgets.
Okay.
And speaking to that, while I value STARS, I think it's a valuable organization to the community. I believe that this is a responsibility of the provincial government. I believe that healthcare is this should be their responsibility, and this is part of extending our mandate into an area where I don't believe we should be funding. And so for that reason, I will not be supporting this.
Okay, so that motion obviously is in order. I think everybody's pretty clear about the intent, and so we have discussion and debate on that motion. Councillor Thiessen.
Thank you, Mayor Bill. I don't know if I'm necessarily in alignment with removing it completely from the budget. I know that they have a higher volume of calls, but what I was looking at was 17, 18. Like, we're going to be building, like, our hospital should be up and operational by that time. So I'm not sure if we're going to be utilizing the service at the same level since we're going to have a premium state-of-the-art facility here in town, like through the hospital. Do you foresee, perhaps, Director Galante, that the volume of calls may go down when our hospital is operational?
Mr. Galante, do you want to give a shot?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. For healthcare services, the catchment area, the referrals area for the current hospital is about 300,000 people in northern Alberta and northeast British Columbia. I would say with the opening of the new facility and more specialized equipment, more specialized physicians, just the opposite, I see the area increasing and more referrals for patients in other areas being flown to the new hospital.
Councillor Clayton.
Thank you, Mayor Given. Based on the motion, my original question has changed. I do have some questions for Director Galante, and then I will follow up on comments regards to the motion. I wondered if Director Galante could tell me what percentage of the overall operating budget the city currently pays towards STARS.
Mr. Galante.
I have the information here on, I have to pull the information. So the total budget for STARS, the total cost is about $38 million. They have an applicant's cash contribution of 11 million, gift in kind, and that's not included in this budget, and financial support from other sources, that is fundraising, $27 million. They have 450 volunteers and 340 paid staff as part of the organization.
Great, thank you. I'm sure that everyone at council, I won't support this motion. Everyone at council, I'm sure, is aware of the value that industry sees of this service. I absolutely strongly encourage council to support, to vote against this motion. I think that industry sees value in this. It brings value to our region. With the increased stability of our hospital, we will service more areas. This is an emergency type service that, although it's heavily funded by other municipalities, marginally in what industry supports it, we give a small amount. And I think that it's very valuable, and I would encourage you to vote against the motion.
Thanks, Councillor Clayton. Councillor Logan.
I was going to make the same point that we leave the amount in the budget as it's suggested, and I will also be voting to defeat the motion. I think one of the things we have to remember is that a good number of the people that are going to be assisted by this service will be Grande Prairie residents.
Thank you, Councillor Logan. Councillor Rice.
I'm being against the motion. I believe our contribution as shown, as reflected in the budget, is sufficient. I guess the one question I would have is, what percentage, if any, does STARS respond within the boundaries of the city of Grande Prairie?
Mr. Galante.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I would say that almost 100% of the the flights are, of course, going outside the city limits. However, population-wise, probably many of the workers being, rescued or transferred from outside the city limits, maybe living in town, but I don't have figures exactly about that.
Thank you. Councillor Clayton?
This was in point of clarification, the slide showed different than the worksheet I have, so I wanted to be clear in regards to the 2015 request was for $100,000, and in my notes I have 50, but on the slide it said that we referred 100 in 215, so I just wanted to clarify that.
Yeah, I think there may be just a difference in terminology. The committee that looked at this referred the 50,000. I think. But I think so. Yeah, I mean, ultimately, I think Councillor Clayton, terminology aside, or however they did it, I mean, administration is saying that there's 50,000 per year in the budget now, and so to change from that less or more would take a motion.
So, what based on committee of the whole, the numbers as funded are what the committee of the whole agreed upon? Is that correct?
I'm not sure this is committee.
Well,
Councillor Radmer?
I believe these are committee referrals, and so it wasn't discussed as a committee of the whole.
this information.
No.
Each one of these are ones that had come through individual
The
standing.
separate sheets
council.
came separately, and they were not committee of the whole recommendations.
Committee of the whole did the community social development ones, the FCSS and others. Yeah. Okay. Any other discussion or debate? I don't see anybody else in the queue, so I'm going to call for the vote in a second. And just as a reminder, so however this vote goes, if it carries, obviously the effect is clear. It would remove that. If it doesn't carry, then the amount would stay at 50,000 as proposed. So because everything that was up on that screen is in the budget, if I'm understanding administration correctly. So our budget is currently includes those amounts. Absolutely, depending on the outcome of this, somebody could make an additional motion if they so chose. Okay, so we'll call for the vote on Councillor Tarrant's motion to remove the funding for STARS from the 2015, 16, 17, and 18 budget. I'll call for the vote. Okay, and I will close that vote. So that motion does not carry. Was there any additional business arising? No. Councillor Rice?
I move that STARS be funded in the amount, we confirm funding of 50,000 a year for each of the 4 years.
Okay, so that was kind of the point that I was getting to, is it's actually in there, so unless somebody wants to increase it, there's no...
Okay, so we don't have to make a motion, it is in there? Okay.
It's in there, yeah. So all of the ones that were up on screen are in the budget, unless somebody wants to vary the amount, either by reducing it or increasing it, then there's no need for motion. Okay, so if there's no additional business arising around STARS, then we move to victim services. Mr. Galante?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So Grande Prairie and District Victim Services provide support, information, and referrals to victims of crime and tragedy. They work in coordination with the RCMP members and provide services to citizens of Grande Prairie and the Spirit River detachment areas as well. Because of an increase in workload over the past years, they are requesting an increase, as you can see on the slide, from the current level of funding of $45,000 going up to $65,000, and that was the amount referred by Community Safety Committee to Council for discussion.
So any need for a motion on this? Again, that would only be to vary the amount. If council is comfortable with the amount as shown, then there would be a need to vary it. I don't see anybody ringing in. Then, if not, then we're confirming and we'd move on to the next item. Okay, we'll move on to technical search and rescue.
Thank you. So Technical Search and Rescue is a volunteer organization that they provide coordination and search expertise to the police as well and other organizations within the community. They are funded at $20,000 per year. That's the 2014 funding level, and they are requesting an increase in $5,000 to $25,000 for 2015 and 16, and that was referred as well by a committee, Community Safety Committee to Council.
Thanks very much, Councillor McLean.
Thank you, Mayor. Again, I just want to make a motion to increase 2018 to 25.
Okay, so that motion again specific to the 2018 year, so it would reflect $25,000 of total funding in the 2018 budget year. Okay, so that again, that motion is specific. It isn't through the 3 previous years. That's that final year, and an additional $5,000 then. Discussion or debate? I see Councillor O'Toole in the queue.
Yes, thanks, Mayor Given. Just curiosity, is this cash in hand or gift in kind? How does this money get divvied up, or is it rental space that's given to them? Just like a little bit of clarification.
Mr. Galante?
I believe they have a small office at the RCMP where they operate, and they have some meetings there, but nothing major.
Oh, sorry, so we're talking on technical search and rescue?
That's correct.
I think Victim Services would have the office at RCMP. Technical Search and Rescue is at the Community Social Development Building, the former fire hall. So would this be this administration's intent that this would be a cash contribution?
You're talking about the physical space, or the budgeted item is a cash contribution? Yes.
Okay. Councillor McLean.
I just want to speak to it. I think what they do is very important as well, and it's a positive approach near the end of the 4-year thing. A lot of their quads or truck that, say, Weyerhaeuser gave them they're pretty well shot, and they're going to be looking to the county and maybe to some companies to help out, because they are search and rescuing people that are lost or deceased, even within the city. They're called upon to find someone in the park or whatever it might be. So they're in and out of the city and county and MD.
Thanks, Councillor McLean. Any further discussion or debate? I don't see anybody else in the queue, so I will call for the vote on Councillor McLean's motion to add $5,000 to the 2018 amount to make it $25,000 of funding in 2018 for technical search and rescue. I'll call for the vote. Sorry, go ahead, Councillor Tarrant.
Sorry, just 20. I thought these items were just for 2015 and 2016.
No, the amounts. So administration has let us know that the amounts shown on the screen are included in the budget amounts. So the city's overall budget document imagines today $20,000 in each of the 4 years being available. At the 2016 mark is where there would be an opportunity for these community groups to come forward and make a pitch again, right? So that's what the asterisk denotes, is that although administration envisioned those community groups having an opportunity to come forward in the 2017 budget review, that administration already has that placeholder of in this case $20,000. So this would be to increase that placeholder amount so the group would know essentially that in 2018 they'd be getting an increase, and they could choose in 2016 whether or not they wanted to come forward based on that. Everybody's clear on that point? Okay, so I will call for the vote on Councillor McLean's motion. Thank you. That motion carries. That would take us to Grande Prairie and Area Safe Communities. Mr. Galante.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So the last community group is Grande Prairie and Area Safe Communities, and basically they are requesting just the same amount, so the maintenance of the current level of funding in 2014 to 2015-16, and again the funds have been allocated for 17 and 18, with the possibility for them to appear in front of a committee in 2016, but it's the same amount.
So their request was the same amount as they received in front of you. Councillor Rice?
Couple programs that they do.
Sure. They run a variety of programs. Some of them are called kindergarten to grade 6 in terms of the mini city they have on site. So they perform education about pedestrian crossings, general information about traffic, safety city.
Okay.
Yes, that's correct.
I just wanted to confirm that. Thank you.
Yes.
Okay. So is there any council member that wishes to make a motion to change the amount that's already reflected in the budget from 24,000 either up or down? If not, and we move on, then that would just stay as is in the budget and would be confirmed. Okay, I see nobody ringing in, so we would move on to the next section, which would be, I think, for community living. Mr. Roth.
Thank you. So these items that are on the next few screens were all referred via committee, council committee of the whole to this process. And so just to remind council what was decided in those past meetings was that an amount was settled upon for 2015. And then in terms of FCSS or community social development funding, we were looking at 5% increases for each group for the years 16, 17, and 18. Except where that increase would be exceeding what the group originally requested. And then we would revert back to the original requested amount. I could certainly, if you have any questions about any of these groups on this slide, I could talk about them if you wanted me to walk through each one individually, but I think those presentations have already been done through the committee process.
I would agree. All of these so these amounts that we see on the screen are in the budget?
That is correct.
Okay. And these groups have been informed about the amounts?
That is correct.
That we see on screen now?
Yes.
And so they know that if they chose, they would have an opportunity to come tomorrow to present?
That's correct.
So do we feel a need to take in, so these are referrals that did come from CCW, Ms. Roth?
That's correct.
Okay. Okay. So these are items that have been reviewed by Council Committee of the Whole, were recommended to be in at these amounts. Groups are aware. The amounts on screen reflects what's in the budget. Does anybody wish to take any action to vary the amounts shown here? Councillor Rice?
Yes, I'm somewhat uncomfortable with what we're doing. I believe that we spent what felt like half a lifetime going over these, discussing them, so that I believe that they should not be touched, if you will, like that they should be confirmed. We confirmed them, we worked at it, move on, don't dissect it. But
I'll tell you, Councillor Rice, you're the only one in the queue, so that would have been, it looks like that was the action that was going to happen.
Well, no, what I am uncomfortable about is we just passed some motions regarding STARS, Victim Assistance, Technical Search, and Safe Communities, but they're scheduled to come and address us tomorrow.
Yeah, absolutely. And to speak a little bit to that, they may have chosen to come forward because the amount that was referred for inclusion in the budget, I don't think in any case, except for Grande Prairie and Area Safe Communities, they were all less than they had requested. So any group that got less than they requested referred into the budget still has the opportunity to come and speak to us and make their case.
So what we just did a few minutes ago is irrelevant.
Well, council could choose to rethink it, but at least now the group will know when they show up tomorrow what the actual amount is in the budget.
Okay, because I see we have some other ones here, the same thing, that are coming tomorrow, that we're going to be dealing with right, now. But okay, whatever.
Councillor Tarrant?
Thank you, Mayor Gibbon. I think I've made my position clear in the past. I wasn't comfortable with the overall funding amount. So I'm just trying to think of what I would like to have a vote on this. So could we just have if someone would make the motion that all these referred items be included within the budget, so that we could have a vote on the funding package in its entirety. Would that be in order?
How do you mean, Councillor Tarrant? Do you mean, because I know you'd sort of flagged FCSS group funding previously, so we're going to have that discussion then.
I guess what I don't want to get into is doing each line item and voting yes, no, yes, no, yes, no, right?
No, so you know what? there are two different ways to do it. Council could set a total amount that we're willing to put to FCSS funding, or a blanket reduction or increase or whatever. And that would be, somebody could make a motion that way. And then there would probably be some debate about the work that council previously had done to prioritize the programs and funding. So if you'd like to try a motion on that, we can have that debate. Absolutely.
Excellent. So I will move that council set the municipal portion of the FCSS funding at 2014 levels plus 5% for 2015 and 5% increases for each year after that. And in speaking to that, I believe, while I obviously believe these are all very valuable community groups, and I think they provide great value. I think there's, I'm comfortable with only providing a certain amount of money. I think, again, that there's a number of items that should be funded provincially, and the provincial government has dropped the ball in a number of funding, and so we're expanding our municipal funding in these areas, and I'm just not comfortable, going to that extent. Particularly when I believe that a lot of them should be provincial funding and should be paid for with other revenue sources. So, in speaking that's the motion I'm making.
Okay, so just to make sure that I've got it clear, so that the ones that were referred for inclusion, any of them, like there were some that were not referred. So your intent was not to include the ones that were not referred, obviously. Yes? No?
Yes.
Yeah? Okay. So the ones that were referred forward, that they all start at 2014 numbers and see a 5% increase in 2015, and then a 5% increase on that in 2016.
No, sorry. My intent was to set, I think our number was around 800,000 for 2014 levels.
So that the municipal contribution
Yes.
increase by...
Mm-hmm.
Okay. No,
That's in order?
yeah.
And then if it were to pass, then obviously we would have to do some further work. But if not, then everything would be referred and we could go on, right?
Okay.
And I just wanted to add one more point. We did receive yesterday, Director Roth provided us with a breakdown of other municipalities, and we actually fund much greater amounts than cities twice our size: Red Deer, Lethbridge, and Medicine Hat. We are, high, very high in that, which, in my motion, I am comfortable. I think that we are providing a lot of value, but there is an extent to which I'm willing to go. So.
Okay. So maybe it would be helpful. Can somebody give us what the total amount of that would be? Like what the 2014 municipal contribution was, and what 5% increases would be? Again, so now we're looking at the municipal contribution, not the individual groups. So at some point we must have what the total municipal contribution in 2015 was. Sure, Councillor Clayton, just turn your mic on. There.
Thank you, Mayor Gibbon. Just a question to the motion. If a group had not requested an increase at all, then how does that motion?
As I understand it, Councillor Tarrant's motion actually doesn't speak to the groups. It speaks to the total amount of money that's available for FCSS funding.
Okay.
If this motion passed, then there would be additional work to be done to figure out how to use that money that's available. So that would likely require either administration to make some recommendations back to council, and council in some form, either at committee or council committee of the whole, to review those recommendations and decide on how the groups would share in the total pot of money that's available. So Councillor Tarrant's talking about the total pot of money that the municipality is willing to put forward to support FCSS contribution. Council would have to figure out how to divvy that out still.
I guess in further to that, when would these groups get an opportunity? Because some of these groups, obviously, municipal funding equates more than 5%. So are we going to tell these groups tonight and they're going to be here tomorrow, or how's that going to work?
We would have to probably figure out a new process that would extend beyond the budget review. I would imagine that administration would need to take some time to review that, potentially make some recommendations based on the prioritization done in the RFPs, or we could just have a council committee meeting or council committee of the whole to review the new amount of total funding available, and then we could figure out how to do it. So in the end, yeah, I believe that council would need to go back and make some decisions about how that total pot, right? Councilor Tarrant's motion is about the total pot. Council would need to figure out how to split that pot amongst the different organizations. So has anybody been able to do any math? Okay, Mr. Roth informs me they're still working on it. Well, if we can start first on what the 2014 municipal contribution to FCSS programs was, that would probably be the best starting point. Mr. Roth, did you find something?
So according to staff, our overall total municipal contribution to FCSS funding was in 2014 is $762,229. A 5% increase would bring that up to a little over $800,000 to $38,000 increase overall.
Councilor Rice, nice job. Yes. Okay, so for clarity, here's what we're talking about. Councilor Tarrant's motion would see the I need to clarify this because we were talking about 2015, would see the 2014 amount plus 5% is what the 2015 amount would be. Is that correct, Councilor Tarrant? Okay. And then plus 5% each year after that, okay? So that the 2015 amount is that 762 plus 5% is the 2015 amount. Okay, so we're all relatively clear on the motion. Councillor Logan.
Thank you. I would urge council to vote against the motion. We've had both administration and council spend a tremendous amount of time not only reviewing the total amount of money available and projecting in the future, and of course in any future year we can vary it at our will. That's our right. Good job on the list of agencies and the allocations, and I don't see a substantive reason for the move that Councillor Tarrant is trying to get put forward in the motion. So I will vote against it, and I hope council will.
Thanks, Councillor Logan. Mr. Roth, just from my notes, can you tell me what the current amount reflected in the 2015 budget is for the FCSS funded municipal contribution to FCSS? Prior to this motion, I just want to clarify so that I understand the scale of difference between the two.
So there is $865,172 committed in terms of grants given to community groups. There are some programs such as home support, which are funded internal city programs that are also receive some FCSS funding. And we could do that calculation for you if you wish.
What's the difference between the two? So the proposed 2015 number and the current included 2015 number.
We'd have to do some more calculations to give that to you.
Sure. Somebody whip out the calculator. I mean, it's an important point. Okay. Is the difference? Mr. Roth?
A really rough estimate would actually be closer to around 100,000 in difference.
Okay. Well, let's maybe somebody with their calculator clarify. Yeah. Okay. Here's what I'm going to ask for. We'll continue with the discussion and debate because there's a principle at play here, right? And so we can discuss and debate the principle. I think before we vote, we want to know the actual sort of number impact on that. So somebody please build the total number that would be the 2014 amount plus 5% and find us the difference between that and what is currently in the budget for 2015. Okay. Councillor Rice, you're in the queue.
I'm urging everybody, regardless of what the number is, to vote against this. Like I said, not only, did we spend considerable amount of time on it, as I having a very strong volunteer background, being familiar with most of these groups, not in my wildest dreams or yours, could you imagine that they said, oh, geez, we got to get our request into the city's FCSS, just take what they gave us last year and add 6% or something like that. They labored over these budgets. They looked at it line by line. They determined these are their needs based on specifics. So to toss out those specifics and do like that, 5% just based on nothing, I have real difficulty. I think it's insulting to the groups, and I think it diminishes all the work that we did. I certainly took each of those decisions seriously, and while I did not agree with all of them, the majority ruled, and I think that we need to be honorable and stick by that.
Thanks, Councillor Rice. How are our calculators doing? Just while I asked that, I noticed Mr. Anderson sitting there. He doesn't even have a calculator in his hand. Oh, he does. Okay. Mr. Roth, so you were about to say that you had something there?
No, I don't. This isn't, like I said, this isn't an easy calculation because you have community group funding, which is primarily what we're talking about, but not all of those groups qualify for FCSS funding. There are some groups that do not, which we would be contributing to 100% solely, as well as there's a couple of city programs that do use some FCSS funding to offset their costs. So we're still working through that calculation.
Okay. Yeah. Well, you know what? Actually, if it's okay, maybe we can just table this to the end of the list, so that we can have time for administration to have that number. So that we can be voting on it with some information in front of us, and then that way that won't hold us up from dealing with some of the other items that are non-FCSS items. Okay, so we'd continue on to deal with some non-FCSS, which we have a number of those as well. Councillor Rice?
I'm kind of confused about what we have. We have council referrals, council or committee referrals. Like, how are they different than what we just dealt with? We've got a whole bunch of I don't know. I can't tell why they're different and how they're different and where FCSS starts and ends. And
Mr. Anderson, do you want to try?
Items referred by council committee of the whole was agreed to last week that those would be included in the budget. Items that came from standing committees would be funded at the 14 levels and it would be discussed here.
okay, I guess I'm still confused. And there's some capital in here as well, on my list.
Well, there is a grant to PACE, but that is a grant to
This is PARDS capital.
No, I meant PARDS, that's what I meant.
PARDS. It was a $300,000 grant to PARDS.
Okay, so, and that, like...
And that is a flagged item already, Councillor Rice.
Okay, so what are we dealing with now? I guess that affects the totals.
Are you talking about Councillor Tarrant's motion?
Yeah.
Councillor Tarrant's motion was specific to, I mean, in essence, limiting the increase in the municipal contribution to FCSS programs. Specifically to the FCSS. So, municipal contribution to FCSS program.
Okay.
So I'm gonna suggest that we, sorry, Councillor Logan, I see you and I'll recognize you. I'm gonna suggest that we move on from this so that administration can get us that information. Because I think this is also sort of the essence, Councillor Tarrant, of we have in our flagged items an FCSS item from you as well, and so this is probably the essence of that. So so we can deal with that as we go on, but I don't think there's a reason to hold up dealing with some of these other items that are not related. Councillor Logan?
Sure, at the very real risk of getting slapped down quite heavily, I disagree. I believe that this is not necessarily a financial motion at all. This is a motion on how we are calculating a particular budget category. We've got a sound, true system of doing this, interviewing the the budgets or the requests that have been put together by the organizations. They come to the committee makes it, and we come forward. And at the last minute here now, we're going to some new system where somebody's pulled a figure out of the air, and we're going to seriously delay, have administration do a pile of work to take care of this. I say, let's carry on with the motion.
So I'm going to, I, as one member of council, feel I have a deficit of information. So I actually don't feel comfortable voting on it until I see that. So I think, Councillor Logan, your point is actually a good part of the debate, and probably the essence of the debate. And so we will have that when we have a little bit more information. So I'm going to ask that we move on to the other items that are not FCSS related, okay, that do not make part of the FCSS area, and that wouldn't be affected by this motion. So if, I guess we have a motion actually there, so maybe we could have a motion to table until administration provides additional information. Councillor Clayton?
Thank you, Mayor Given. I'm prepared to make a motion that we table the current motion until adequate information is provided by administration.
Okay, thanks very much. And just to speak to that, the intent is that that would be this afternoon or tomorrow at the very latest. Ideally this afternoon, so that if there was an impact on the groups, that they'd be able to be informed before the presentation sessions tomorrow. Okay? So the intent is not weeks from now, it's soon. Okay, so a motion to table, discussion and debate. Councillor Logan?
Yes, of course, I couldn't pass up the opportunity to urge council to vote against this motion and get it off the table. Let's get on with the work that we came here for.
Thanks, Councillor Logan. Any further discussion or debate? Seeing none, then I'll call for the vote. So that vote, that motion does not pass. So we will deal with the motion on the floor. That is Councillor Tarrant's motion, obviously open for discussion and debate. Councillor Tarrant's motion was to limit the municipal contribution to FCSS programs to 2014 levels plus 5% in each of the 4 budget years. Correct? Okay. So discussion and debate on that motion. Councillor McLean.
I was hoping to hear those numbers, and since I'm not, that'll be the reason why I'm voting the way I'm going to be.
Any other discussion or debates? Seeing nobody else in the queue, then I'll call for the vote on Councillor Tarrant's motion. Everybody's clear about the effect of the motion. We don't have to, okay. Call for the vote. I heard just a minute. Sure. So yeah, so before I hit end vote, so Councillor Tarrant's, so if you vote yes, you're voting in favor of limiting the municipal contribution to 2014 levels plus 5% in each of the following years. Okay, everybody was clear? No? Okay, and if everybody voted on that basis, I'll end that vote and we'll show the results. I hit the right button, but it did not come up. Okay, we'll call for the vote again. Again, if you vote in favor, it is in terms of limiting the contributions. Okay. There we go. Okay. Okay. So that item has been dealt with. We can continue on now, Mr. Roth. The slide that you had up there dealt with some referrals.
That is correct. The slide had was basically the first of 3 slides around community social development. We can, if there's no questions on that particular slide about any of these amounts, we could move on to the next slide so that you can see the next grouping of referrals. There's just too many referrals to fit on one slide. And then again, if there's no questions on this slide, we can move on to the next grouping of referrals.
Just for clarity, the motion, the previous motion would have applied to all of these.
That is correct.
Okay.
So the only point of clarification on this particular slide is, again, the PARDS capital item after where it says CSD subtotals. That is a one-time capital grant request that PARDS is made as a contribution towards their new facility in near Evergreen Park. This is administration looked at as this was completely a cash request that we would be giving cash to PARDS, and is looking at it as a grant, a one-time grant kind of opportunity. It's still capital towards a capital project, but it is a grant towards that.
And that item has been flagged, so we'll deal with it in the flagged items.
And the other item, just to clarify, is that Council Committee of the Whole also passed a motion to include $88,000 in the years 2017 and 18 for community social development agencies as future projects. And that's also listed on there as future projects. Those are projects that could come forward after 2016, that if there's a need within the community, groups could apply for future funding through a process at the end of 2016 for 2017 and 18 funding.
Okay, so do you want to move on to recreation and sport?
So each of these, again, has been referred to Council Budget Deliberations by Council Committee of the Whole. As you can see, there's no funding in 2017 and 18, and this is very similar to, as Director Galanti had already explained, the policy allows groups outside of the community social development world to apply for funding for 2 years at a time. Administration has put in the budget for future years at the 2016 level as a placeholder, so to speak. So there is an amount set for those areas, but it's just there as a placeholder. It's not specific to any group.
And so these amounts that we see on screen for 15 and 16 are currently in the budget.
That is correct.
That's correct. Okay. Okay, so we have an opportunity for discussion or debate on these ones in the same way that we did with the first items out of community safety stars and victim services. If we don't have any motions to vary the amounts, then they will stay in the budget as reflected on screen. Councillor Logan.
I'm sorry, this is a question for information. I'm familiar with the vast majority of these things that we've looked at in the last few pages, but the one that I'm not sure I remember what it was about was the $20,000 in each of 2015 and 2016 for the Canadian Paraplegic Association. If I could have some information on that, please.
Mr. Roth?
Sure. This group was applying for funds to assist with, it's basically more of a sport development type of project, where they would have workers working with people in wheelchairs, trying to make them more, encourage them to be more physically active.
Information. Councillor Rice, I see you in the queue.
Would you just refresh my memory as to what the Sport Council does if it's a partnership?
Mr. Roth?
Absolutely. The Sport Council is a partnership with the city and county being the municipal contributors, as well as contributions from private sector and membership sales. Sport Council is very active in terms of promoting sport tourism in the area, as well as being a clearinghouse, if you want to call it that, of all things sport within our community. So when announcements get made around different sporting events, it also filters through the Sport Council.
Okay. Okay, so Council, again, if we can have the slide up again on screen. If there is no motion on any of these, then we would move on to the next area, and all of these items would be included in the budget.
Yes, and so, sorry.
Mr. Roth? So council members, this is your last chance on this slide. Seeing nothing. Okay, thank you. Councillor Tarrant.
Thank you, Mayor Given. I would like to move that we withdraw funding for the Nighthawk Ski Hill.
Okay, so there was two amounts. There's operational funding.
Sorry, the entire operating and capital amounts.
Okay. Okay, so motion, if we can have the slide up just for reference. So motion to remove the 50,000 in 2015 and 50,000 in 2016 in operating funding, and 177.5 in 2015 and 116.411 in 2016 in capital. So to remove all of those amounts. Okay. Is that motion's obviously in order, or care to speak to it?
And in speaking to it, I've thought long and hard about all the different recreational opportunities that the city funds, and certainly I'm in favor of funding a variety of activities. However, I personally would like to support sports and recreation opportunities that are accessible and to a wide variety of people. I find a ski hill is, it's not very accessible in terms of its location and in terms of the cost associated with actually doing the sport. It's prohibitive to a lot of people. And I think that the money can be spent in other areas. And when we're looking at, in terms of public spending, how we could be supporting our recreation use in the area, I think that there's a number of other facilities and uses that would our money could be better spent on.
Councillor McLean.
Thank you, Mayor Given. My question was on Nighthawk as well. Not so much operational, but more capital. At least one of the capitals. I mean, that's almost $450,000 operation and capital, and it's not in our border. And yes, it hits a certain area, but I mean, just a question to Gary on some of this capital. I know they came to committee. I do believe that this is a truck and this and that. It just seems like a big sucking sound, and it's overall certain individuals and groups. I just want to know about the capital.
Mr. Roth.
Nighthawk has produced a significant both operational and capital plan. The capital plan in this particular instance refers to a number of items. I don't have the exact list in front of me. I can get that for your information if you wish. And certainly, too, they have also approached the county as well as the MD of Greenview with their requests, and they were proportionate, ratioed out between the three municipalities.
Proportionate? You mean MD was the most, and us second, and county the very littlest, or what? What do you mean by proportion?
I believe the MD was at a 50% cost share, and the city and county were each at 25% cost share.
Okay.
Councillor Rice.
A couple of years ago, Nighthawk sat down with the three councils to outline their state of affairs, if you will. Council was impressed with the plan that Gary just mentioned, and all three levels of government could see the value in it. Their membership, as has been outlined, it comes from all three of those municipalities and a large proportion from Grande Prairie residents. I think that our contribution on a regional recreation basis is integral to this project, and I urge you to support the funding that's in the budget.
Okay. Just to be clear, so we're all debating the same way, the motion is to remove it. So if you...
Okay, so vote against it.
It's just, yeah, because it does get challenging, right? If you say, please support this, the motion is to remove 100% of the funding in operational capital. So Councillor Rice is in opposition. Councillor Clayton.
Thank you, Mayor Given. I will be voting against this motion. I encourage the rest of council to do so. Seeing the location of the hill as a detriment, I would disagree. The hill really couldn't be located within the city. It's located at its optimal operational location. This facility, as Director Roth mentioned, is funded 50% by the hosting municipality and 25% by the partners of the city and the county. Some of the important points of this facility to note are that when professionals, doctors, people are brought to the region, it is a highlight to them not only of our cultural facilities, but things such as a ski hill are a highlight to people that are moving to our city, and our region is very fortunate to have it. So I encourage council to vote against this motion.
Thanks, Councillor Clayton. There's a number of people in the queue. I'll just jump in the middle. To say that I'm conflicted on this. I appreciate the thought that's gone into the proposal. I appreciate the fact that the City of Grande Prairie is not the major funder of this, that it's another municipality that's stepping to the plate to do that. And I 100% believe that it's an amenity that's important in our region. And it's one of those things, if you don't have a ski hill, and that's one less thing that we've got in the Grande Prairie area. And so on all those bases, all those items would lead me to support it wholeheartedly. The only thing that sort of detracts from that is I don't think the same can be said of our other regional partners in terms of supporting the variety of things that are accessible to their populations in the city. I think on the whole, though, for me, I will not support the motion because of those reasons I mentioned, and also the additional fact that I'd hazard a guess that percentage of users of the facility are 80 to 90% or more city residents, and so in the end, although this isn't physically located in the city, it is an amenity that the majority of the users are city residents, and so on that basis, I'm comfortable, and that basis and the share of support from other partners, I'm comfortable in supporting the amount that was included, and I will vote in opposition. Councillor O'Toole.
Thank you very much, Mayor Given. A lot of important points have been presented so far. I'll be voting against it, but as Councillor Rice has mentioned earlier, a few years ago they were in really bad shape, and Council placed a person on that committee to keep an eye on what's going on. Since then, they've got a campground. They've developed bicycle BMX training out there. They've got a tube hill there that all ages can ride on. And it's used as a place where people can have get-togethers. So they've really done a lot in the last 3 or 4 years. I'm urging to not vote for this for a number of reasons. We have pursuit of excellence. We give a lot of money out to the youth to train and coaches, and I just feel that this is something that we need to continue funding. Maybe not forever, but in this next 4 years, I think we need to be there. And thank you very much.
Thanks, Councillor O'Toole. Councillor Logan.
Thank you. I'm not going to speak to the motion. Rather, I'm going to ask that the motion be split into its two component parts, operating funding and capital funding, and be voted on separately.
Okay. Certainly any member of council can speak, can ask to have a motion split, especially when there's two distinct parts like this. So we will split the motion and we'll deal with operating funding first. So we can certainly do that. Any discussion or debate? Sorry, was there any further discussion or debate on the issue as a whole? And then we'll just vote on them separately. Seeing nobody else in the queue? No. We will.
Yes for operating.
Just hold on.
If you want to take the money away.
So there is no motion to split. Any council member can ask to have a motion split whenever they want, and we will just say yes. I use the royal we. Okay, so the request was to split the motion into two parts. We can do that. We will deal with operating first. Is there any further discussion or debate on Councillor Tarrant's motion to remove $50,000 in 2015 and $50,000? And sorry, was it ongoing? I don't have that slide. Was it ongoing? 50,000, or is it just for the 2 years, Mr. Roth? So to remove the $50,000 in operational funding for Nighthawk in 2015 and 2016. Okay, so we'll deal with that first. Another opportunity, any discussion or debate, questions or comments around the motion to remove the operational funding? I don't see anybody in the queue, so I'll call for the vote on that portion. Again, this is to remove, so a vote in favor would see that funding removed. Okay, that motion does not pass. So now we will discuss the capital portion. Mr. Roth, do you want to share some details on the capital items?
Yes, thank you for your patience. I do have some information on the capital items now. In 2015, they are proposing to upgrade their snowmaking abilities by upgrading and replacing snow guns, changing the compressor and generator, and installing those two pieces of equipment. It also sees their plan also sees an upgrade with the purchase of a new groomer or snowcat for the hill. It also sees upgrades with the new snowmobile, and it also has an amount that gets set aside cumulative over the 4 years of the capital plan that works out to about a $2 million amount over the 4 years that would be intended to be used for lift replacement and or repairs. The 2015 total amount is about a $710,000 capital project, and of course the city's contribution is 25% of that.
Okay. Okay, so there's the information on the capital portion of the request. Any discussion or debate on the motion to remove the 177.5 and the 116.411 budget? Councillor Radburn.
Thank you, Given. I will not be supporting this motion. I'll be voting no. The capital component of this is to make the operations fiscally sustainable, financially sustainable over the years. Take this out, that will limit them getting to that point. We want it to happen in a couple of years. So I think that the capital is integral to the package. And secondly, as Councillor Rice said, we've developed a good partnership in this particular facility. And I think we're getting good bang for the buck for a quarter of total cost. Plus, who uses it? You can't just cherry pick one recreational activity and say, nah, we're not going to support that. Thank you.
Okay. Thanks, Councillor Radburn. Councillor Logan.
I actually intend to vote to keep this in the budget. I imagine the people surprised given the way I voted on the first round. I'm not sure we should have been in the business of supporting ongoing operating costs in the region. I think that those municipalities can do it. But a capital item like this on our border, I think, is really worthwhile keeping, and therefore I'll be voting in a manner that might have been considered to be a surprise until I just said what I said.
Well, surprises keep things interesting. So, Councillor Clayton.
Thank you, Mayor Given. I also will be voting against the motion. In addition to the things that Councillor Radburn mentioned, it's important to realize that this facility hosts events that create tourism in our region. They bring, there's two large scale events that come to mind that bring youth under the age of 16 for 2 nights in hotels, restaurants, and their campground is full every year. They're looking to expand this. And as Councillor Radburn mentioned, by supporting the capital projects, we're hoping to ensure that going forward they need less or hopefully no operating in the future. So thank you.
Okay. Councillor Logan.
I'm sorry. This covers both the years, right?
Yes, it does.
Thank you.
That was the intent of the motion. Okay. Any further discussion or debate? Councillor Thiessen.
Thank you. Not much else to add to the conversation. I too will not be supporting the motion. But I just wanted to add for anyone who might be thinking otherwise that not only are there a lot of city users there, but they are also largely a city employer. Like there's a lot of people that work through Nighthawk as well and receive training and have moved on to specialized services in that field. And it's all thanks to the existence of Nighthawk. So I will not be supporting this motion.
Okay. I don't see anybody else in the queue. Then I will call for the vote. The motion is to exclude the 2 years of capital funding. So motion in support would remove that funding. A motion in opposition would retain that funding. I'll call for the vote. Okay. That motion does not carry. Okay. What else did you have on your list? Sorry, to ask a different way. Does council need any additional information, or are there any additional motions arising from what's reflected on the screen in front of us? Councillor Rice?
Well, it's all on it's on the second sheet, but it's part of recreation and sport.
Oh, the next slide, Councillor Rice?
Yeah.
Okay, so let's see. So if there's no questions on the slide that's on screen right now, we'll move on to the next. Mr. Roth?
So this slide does need some explanation when it comes up on the screen. If I could get the next slide up on the screen, please. Thank you. These were items that relate to community group funding. These were not referred via CCW, but I just wanted to be very clear with council as to what else, other things were in the budget that administration had budgeted for. and we're trying to be like give you all the information that you need. So I'll speak to each of these items. The sporting events sponsorship was an amount that administration set aside for those ongoing requests that we seem to receive every year for various sporting events. In the past, we've sponsored the Native Fastball Championships and other activities down at South Bear Creek. Coming up in the future, we know that we'll be hosting the 2015 Alberta Special Olympics, Winter Special Olympics here in Grande Prairie, as well as a number of provincial swim meets. So there is high-level sporting events that happen, and administration had put in a sponsorship amount just to be able to have some funds available for that.
Okay. Is anybody with, sorry, Councillor Rice first, and then Councillor McLean, just to answer your question.
The 55 plus games, is that a commitment we've already made in order to secure those games?
At Community Living Committee earlier this week, we had received the request there. Administration had indications that this request would be coming, but no commitment has been made at this point in time. By having it in the budget would be where would be the commitment.
Okay, I would move that the Pursuit of Excellence funding be reduced to 35,000 across the board.
That motion's obviously in order. Any discussion or debate, questions or comments? I would have one. Mr. Roth, is this the, what is the effect of this $40,000? Like, is this the total amount that Pursuit of Excellence gives out? Is there any left remaining from the legacy of the games? And if this funding wasn't put forward in Pursuit of Excellence, what would happen to that program?
This is the amount that Pursuit of Excellence gives out annually. This isn't, as I understand it, isn't affected by the legacy piece. If the Pursuit of Excellence amount funded were to decrease, the amount that we would have available to give to athletes or those in sport development would also decrease.
Okay. Councillor, so open for discussion and debate. Councillor McLean.
I was actually going to speak to something else, but I'll speak to that one so that I hear that. I think Pursuit of Excellence is a great thing that started out from the Canada Winter Games that was held here, and the smart council we had at the time that put the funding through decided to put it towards this, not just put it in their general debentures. The other communities got their percentages and put it mostly into that and didn't start this. As chair of it, I'm very proud of it. I believe it's maybe kept that level of maybe a little low, and I wasn't looking at even gaining it, but not definitely reducing it. I'll be voting against it. And I did, as chair, a couple of years ago, write a letter to the county for some funding that did not go through. Even though it's regional, it goes all the way to Spirit River, Grovedale, covers a major area. So I think reducing it would be bad because it's about 40% or more that are actually in the county MD and other. It's 4 or 5, I think, municipalities that are involved in this. It stretches quite a bit. So I guess we'll vote on this. I wanted to speak on the 55 plus.
Well, we'll deal with each one
Yeah.
as council members make motions on them. So, Councillor Radburn.
Thank you, McGovern. Yeah, I won't be supporting the motion to decrease funding. Actually, I think about 30,000 has typically come from the legacy from the Canada Games. And a number of years ago, the city, through our budget, decided to top it up to 40. In the last couple of years, we've basically spent all the money. So I think the need is there. The program's becoming even more well known, and each year we're receiving more requests. So I would really support maintaining the present level of funding for this program.
Councillor Radburn, Councillor O'Toole.
Thank you very much, Mayor Given. Mr. Roth, I just have a question. For clarification, are we the only municipality that puts money into this fund?
Mr. Roth?
I believe we are. Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
I don't see anybody else in the queue. So I'm going to call for a vote on Councillor Rice's motion to reduce the annual funding to the Pursuit of Excellence Fund program by $5,000 to a total of $35,000 per year for each of the 4 years. So a vote in favor reduces the amount. A vote against or in opposition, maintains the amount that's proposed in the budget. Call for the vote. Councillor Rice, do you need to? Good. I'm looking for one person who hasn't. There we go. Thank you. That motion does not carry. We move on to other items. Councillor McLean.
Just a question to Gary. The Special Olympics, we were one of the pillars of 15 grand, and we got 750 athletes coming. I didn't get all this with the 55 plus. How many athletes we coming? And we're looking at a few dollars here. Just a question. Let me know how many athletes come and why we're putting so much money into it.
Mr. Roth. Somebody that's. Could I ask? Council, maybe just turn on your so we can.
For a number on the neighborhood associations, how many do we have that are active right
now? Council members are competing for who's in the queue first, and I just want to tell you, we got it right here. And whoever's first is first. Yeah, but not individually. Unfortunately, I can't. Just so everybody knows, while we're waiting for some additional information, I can't delete the one council member that I don't like, or if there was a council. I'm not saying there is. Like if there was a council member that I didn't want to speak, I can't delete that one individual. I'd have to delete all of you. So there is equity there. Mr. Roth has some information for us.
Gary's good.
So sorry, up again, apologies for taking a couple minutes to find the information. In terms of the 55 plus games, of course, the actual attendance is just a projection, but they're looking at 1,200 athletes from across the province participating in 17 sports. It takes about 700 volunteers to operate, and they estimate about 300 guests that come along with those athletes.
Okay. Question asked and answered, and I see others in the queue. Council, you
I
asked
want to
for
make a
information?
motion on the funding for the 55 plus.
Sure.
I'd like the funding be changed to 2016 to 30,000, and that's all the funding. And and that's it. That's my motion.
Okay. So Councillor McLean is making a motion that the funding for the 2017 55 plus games be reduced to reflect $30,000 in 2016. Okay, so that's open for discussion and debate. Councillor Clayton.
Thank you, Mayor Gibbon. I will be speaking against this motion, and I encourage council to do so. With the number of people that are coming to the community for the 55 plus games, they all come self-funded. They all stay in hotels. They eat. This is a demographic that has expendable income, and they are looking to spend money in our community. It's also a partnership with the county, who will also be requested to put the exact same amount of money in. So, thank you.
Councillor Rice.
No, I'm actually on a different one.
Okay. Councillor Logan.
Yes, I was going to speak against the motion, but I recognize I can't be nearly as compelling as Councillor Clayton. It's important that this go ahead.
Okay, Councillor Thiessen.
Just wanted a little clarification here. Is this the Alberta 55 plus winter games or the summer games? Summer?
Summer.
No Bunnock?
There's still time. There's still time.
All right, there's still time? All right.
Whatever Bunnock is, there's still time
that
to
may reflect my vote.
Okay, is there anybody else in the queue that would wish to speak? Anybody else that wish to speak to this? I see Councillor McLean to close. If not, okay, then Councillor McLean, go ahead.
I'm just going to speak to this. I know when they come for funding is what they're asking. We got Special Olympics where we got 750 athletes coming. They only came and asked for 15 grand to be a pillar. Rotary's coming up big for them as well. So that's 15 grand. And now we have 55 plus where you're saying, okay, 1,200, but that's not quite as double. But I'm saying, okay, that's my philosophy behind it. And there's still hotels going to be filled anyways. And I just think it's a lot of money where one asked for very little and the other one asked for very lot because they're just looking for a big handout. Thank you.
Thank Thanks, Councillor McLean. So I'll call for the vote. The motion is on Councillor McLean's motion to limit the funding to the 55-plus games to a total of $30,000 in 2016. Okay, so we're all clear. We'll start the vote. So motion in favor will limit the funding to that amount. I'm looking for one more vote to be entered. Thank you. That motion does not carry. Okay. We have some others in the queue. Councillor O'Toole.
Yes, Mayor Given, I don't know if this is the appropriate time or not, but I was wondering if we could, for our pursuit of excellent funding, if we could write letters to the municipalities that the pursuit of money gives their athletes and see if they would like to put their belly up to the bar and divvy in some money.
Would be an appropriate item for the Pursuit of Excellence Committee to discuss. So certainly I think you'd refer that as an agenda item.
Okay, thank you.
Councillor Clayton.
Thank you, Mayor Given. I had a question regarding sporting excellence sponsorship. I was hoping, Director Roth, you could verify from what I recall at a community living meeting maybe Tuesday this week, there was a motion made for $50,000 to go towards sponsorship as a whole. Where does this 32 fit in comparison to that 50, which I thought the 50 was culture and sports? So I'm just wanting some clarification.
So this sporting event sponsorship amount was actually created and put in the budget by administration before the Community Living Committee group meeting earlier this week. The 50,000 amount is actually coming up in future slides. So there's two amounts, but that 50 amount was a referral that is showing up on the unfunded list at this point in time.
So there'll be 82 total then? Or
If both were approved, it could be 82 total.
Thank you.
Councillor Rice.
Would move that the neighborhood association's funding be set at 35,000 for 15, 16, 17, and 18. Neighborhood associations, in my definition, are primarily voluntary, and they could use some assistance and coordination, but the beauty of those is it's the neighbors working together. So I think that this budget goes above and beyond that.
Thanks, Councillor Rice. For my information, Mr. Roth, can you give us some info about what the funds are for? And I'm curious, does it relate to the grant program that the city's established for neighborhood associations?
Yes, that's correct. This funds the grant for neighborhood associations. There's basically two pieces of funding that neighborhood associations can apply for. The first piece is an operating grant of up to $2,500 per neighborhood association. That amount basically essentially covers their director's insurance, and that is an amount of money that, as most of these groups do not have any money to cover their insurance, it enables them to stay operational. The next is that an amount that they can apply for of up to $5,000 per association, and that's a matching grant for neighborhood enhancements. So if a neighborhood association has a project that they want to embark on, they would need to raise up to $5,000, and we would match that with $5,000, and they could do that for their group.
So if my motion passes, that might be amended to from 5,000 to 3 or something like that. I mean, it's not written in stone.
That is correct. We would have to look at the grant allocations within the total amount.
Okay. Thanks, Mr. Roth.
There must be salaries in there because there's a coordinator.
The coordinator is an operational budget item that we saw previously when the community living director made his budget presentation.
So this is coordinators over and
was
above
flagged by yourself.
Yeah.
This is funding to go to external organizations. Think of it that
So
way.
it is. It's over, the coordinator's over and above that.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Councillor O'Toole.
Thanks very much, Given. So the numbers that are increasing, it's just because more neighborhood associations are coming on board.
Mr. Roth.
That is correct. We've seen a steady growth within the numbers of neighborhood associations over the last business cycle. We currently have 10 neighborhood associations with 2 in the process of forming. The intent was administration just wanted to make sure that the numbers reflected a continual potential growth in numbers of associations.
Thank you very much for that clarification.
Councillor Clayton.
Thank you, Mayor Given. If possible, I'd like to make an amendment to the motion. As discussed, I think yesterday, there is growth in this segment, and I can value the increase from the 30,700 to the 50. I don't see, I think at some point, as I mentioned yesterday, that we will reach saturation. I do agree that right now there is opportunity for growth as more neighborhoods could use association. It entails that we'll need more administration. However, I think at the $50,000 level, we'd be pretty comfortable. So I'd be prepared to make a motion to amend the motion to $50,000 yearly going forward, 2015, 16, 17, 18.
What I'm going to do is I'm going to ask if we can vote on Councillor Rice's motion, because otherwise we get in somebody saying, well, actually, I think 45 is the right choice, and it's in between, and so we could get a few different levels. So let's have one motion. If the motion isn't successful or is, then we could, we can have a chain. We can vote on, have additional motions to follow, because there's a different intent there, I think. So we'll stay with Councillor Rice's motion to set the level at 35,000 per year for the 4-year cycle. Councillor Thiessen.
Thank you, Mayor Bill. Sorry, Gary. Just a question here. I know that we have growing neighborhood associations. But how many established neighborhood associations do we have currently?
We have 10 currently established.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Councillor Thiessen. Okay, so other discussion, debate on Councillor Rice's motion. I see Councillor Radburn's popped in. I'll just, again, so I'm not going towards the end. I will not be supporting the motion. Just on quick numbers, that $5,000 grant program, should all currently existing neighborhood associations choose to access that program, that's $50,000. Not all would in 1 year, but should they, that's $50,000. And at even $2,000 a piece, in just the basic, and I think Mr. Ross said it was more, just in insurance costs, which we've made that commitment to covering director's insurance, that's $20,000 in those basic costs. So if we said, well, okay, we have to cover your insurance because that means that you'll continue to exist, that would only leave, under Councillor Rice's motion, $15,000 a year. So only 3 associations would be able to access those grant funds. There'd only be enough funds for 3 associations, or you could reduce the amount. But I believe that the numbers administration has proposed are appropriate, especially considering this is an area that I would like to see grow. And so I won't be supporting this motion to reduce the amount or any other motions that would come forward. Councillor Radburn.
Thank you, Mayor Given. Ditto. Ashley?
Sorry, I should let you go first, I guess.
Thanks a lot. No, this has just been such an important initiative that we've began this journey. The associations and the support they're getting has been critical in their growth. It is my vision and hope too that we would have neighborhood associations throughout the city by the time the next election rolls around. And their volunteers are not just volunteers; their volunteers are working hard to have an access to a grant, a matching grant. They have to do the work. They have to complete it. I think really provides an incentive and a support to those associations in doing what they want to do in their neighborhoods. So I will not be supporting this motion.
Thanks, Councillor Radburn. Any further discussion or debate? I don't see anybody else in the queue. So we're on Councillor Rice's motion to reduce the funding for neighborhood associations to $35,000 per year in each of the 4 years of the budget cycle. Everybody's clear that a motion in favor would see the amount reduced to $35,000. A motion in opposition would leave the funding as is shown on that slide, if we could have it up, but as is currently in the budget. So I'll call for the vote. Okay. That motion does not carry. Or is there any other business rising? Councillor Clayton.
Thank you, Mayor Given. although I absolutely encourage residents of the community to grow their neighborhood organizations, and I see extreme value in this, I think that at some point, as we're reaching the 16, 17, 18 years, there's more money than would necessarily be needed, and I'm not comfortable budgeting it for what ifs. So therefore, I'm prepared to make a motion that $50,000 be funded annually in this budget cycle, so 15, 16, 17, 18.
Okay, so a motion for $50,000 per year for each of the 3 years. Open for discussion debate. Councillor Tarrant.
Thank you, Mayor Gibbon. I will be supporting this motion. I am comfortable with the increase, and I think that'll help our associations out. And I'm comfortable setting it at this level. I also do want to note that associations are able to access other grants, such as parks improvement, and they're also able to make presentations to council every year should there be bigger projects they want to see forward. So I'm comfortable with this level of funding.
Thanks, Councillor Tarrant. Any further discussion or debate? I don't see anybody else in the queue. Call for the vote on Councillor Clayton's motion to reflect $50,000 per year for each of the 4 years in the budget. So motion in support would reduce the amount to that $50,000 per year. Motion in opposition would leave it at the amount reflected on the screen. Call for the vote. Thank you. Motion does not carry. Make sure my math is right. Okay. Okay. Now if we can have, when this clicks off, because I know it does that automatically, if we can have that slide back up just to see if there's anything councilors had motions on just about everything on that. Is there anything else anybody wanted to discuss? Slide, Councilor McLean.
I'm going to make a motion, see where it goes. I'm going to make a motion to increase Pursuit of Excellence to $45,000 per year.
Okay. So Councilor McLean has made a motion to increase the amount for Pursuit of Excellence to $45,000 per year for each of the 4 years in the budget cycle. Any discussion or debate on that motion? Seeing nobody in the queue, I will call for the vote. In this case, a motion in support would add that extra $5,000 per year to the budget. Okay. And that motion does not carry. Okay. Okay. So is there a next slide? There's always a next slide so far in this process.
There's always more slides.
Okay. You know what? Actually, Councillor Rice, that's probably appropriate. Is 2:45 by my clock. So we'll say we'll be back at no. We'll give ourselves a 10-minute break. We'll be back. Try to be back for 5:02. 10 minutes. Just before we get started, I want to recognize that with our AV system here, our audio video system, we've had a number of staff from different departments over the last couple of days sitting in doing some cross training. So I see the assessment department's getting some training on our technology and council chambers. I saw the environmental services department there, development services, and so I really want to commend staff, CLT, on their commitment to cross training within the organization. Hopefully soon we'll see Ken Anderson on a fire truck, and and Director Galanti on a Zamboni, and all the way through. But I do want to recognize the staff that are taking time out from their different areas to come and fill that to ensure that this webcast is available to everybody that's eagerly watching it. So we'll continue on with some of our presentations. Director Roth, I think you're still on.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I think the next ones on the screen are the culture and heritage area. Again, all of these have been referred to by Council Committee of the Whole to this process. I do have an asterisk besides the Peace Library Systems amount. The Peace Library System, as you know, Council had passed support for amendments to their agreement, which would see granting amount increases. Administration has also budgeted for population increases as part of this process. So these are the numbers that are in the budget with both increases, both the per capita amount and population amount increases. Population amount increases were budgeted for projecting a population increase in 2016 and 2018.
Okay, and so just to be clear, the amounts reflected on screen are the amounts that are in the budget.
That is correct.
Okay, so questions or comments, discussion, debate, or motions? Councillor Logan.
Just wanted to ask what the asterisks were on the 2014 totals under the three items that are real shorts, Boys Choir and International Street Performers.
Mr. Roth?
It's a good question. Those particular items were formerly funded through festival funding, and those groups applied independently as part of this process, not through the festival funding process. So by moving those into just a general grant funding, if the festival funding amount would stay the same, it would actually effectively be a net increase to festival funding.
More would be available for other groups. Okay. Okay. I see Councillor Tarrant.
Sorry, can you bring that screen back up? Thank you. I'd like to make a motion with the Prairie Gallery Society. I'd like to move that we fund the society in 2015 to the amount of $230,000, and in 2016 $240,000. And in speaking to this, we just had a presentation at a committee meeting the other day where we saw that there was significant hits to the art gallery in terms of provincial funding. And this is another area where I feel that, we're being asked to fill in the gap because provincial funding has lapsed. And, I think that, if we continue to fill in the gap, that, again, that drives up our taxes. And I think that it should be, again, largely a provincial responsibility. And it's a shame that these have been cut. And I think we need to put pressure on the provincial government to restore that funding and not just accept the responsibility.
Okay, thanks, Councillor Tarrant. So Councillor Tarrant's motion is in order. It would change the amounts in 2015 to $230,000, and in 2016 to $240,000 for the Prairie Art Gallery, the Prairie Gallery Society. Discussion and debate on that motion. Councillor Rice.
I happen to totally agree with Councillor Tarrant. However, I'm not voting for his motion. And I'm not, because his case is right. But I think that we work through AUMA, we work through our advocacy levels, we work through our MLAs, and until we get that funding increased, we don't pull out. It may be unfair, but, nobody was handing out fare tickets when we got on this ride. And I think it would be a terrible disservice to the Prairie Gallery. So while I agree with his rationale, I don't agree with his methods.
I see Councillor Radburn in the queue, and I'll make sure that I let him go first this time rather than Councillor Radburn.
No, I just would encourage my colleagues to, this has been on again, off again, this process with respect to these community groups, and I just, from the outset, once we did the Council Committee of the Whole, I think that we should have stayed with that, respect that perspective. But the reality is these groups spend a lot of time working on their needs. As you'll hear tomorrow morning, I believe this will help stabilize funding, that the gallery needs this support. That's why they asked for this support. And I agree, obviously, we need to work on other levels of government support as well, but that's not our reality right now. Thank you.
Thanks, Councillor Aburn. I just want to say that I won't be supporting the motion. And the reason that I won't be is because I don't believe the increased requests have a direct relation to the reduced funding from the province. I think certainly there's an impact there, or correlation. I don't think it's as direct as it might be thought. I believe that this also reflects the increasing activity at the Prairie Gallery, the Art Gallery of Grande Prairie, as they've grown, and it reflects their need to be able to meet the level of service expected by the population that they serve. So I think that there's two different things that are driving this. I believe that really its majority is around growth. I think that if there was additional provincial funding, it would enable them to grow more or better meet the needs of the population that they're serving. And I think we should continue to lobby for that, as Councillor Rice said. So I won't be supporting the motion because I believe that this is important funding for that organization. Any other discussion or debate? So again, I'll call for the vote on Councillor Tarrant's motion, which would be to reduce the funding in 2015 to $230,000 and 2016 to $240,000. If you vote in favor, you're voting to reduce that funding from what is currently reflected in the budget, which is on screen. Call for the vote. Okay, and the motion does not carry. Councillor Logan.
I don't know. I'm wondering if it's appropriate to make a motion that the item of gallery funding be referred to the appropriate standing committee for the development of a strategy.
Sure. We did actually we did have a report on that just earlier this week, Councillor Logan, that highlighted the issue. And at that meeting, we referred this as one of our advocacy items. And was there a letter writing motion? I don't remember if there was that came out of that. I believe there was a motion to write a letter on it.
Thank you.
Okay, so if we can have the slide back up again. Council members, is there anything else that we wish to vary what is on screen here? I don't see anybody ringing in, and so I'll ask one more time, council members, is there any desire to make a motion to change anything that we see reflected on the screen here? Because if there's not, then we would move forward. Okay, Carrie, do you want to go, or Ken, to the next slide?
And if I may speak to one item, the line item that on this slide that says Arts Development Fund is specific to funding that's been in the past, been in place. That not only includes arts development, that's just what we call it on this line item, but it includes arts development, festival funding, and the fee for service to the Grande Prairie Marching Band. Those were remained at the existing levels. They were just lumped together, but we wanted to make sure that the council saw that that was included in the budget.
Discussion or debate on any of these items? Councillor Logan.
Could I get a brief update on the second item, Peace Regional Independent Media Arts?
Mr. Roth?
This was a group that came forward of wanting to have a pool of equipment available for visual arts within our community, and it was to purchase some lights and some other equipment that would be available for artists to use on a loan-out kind of basis.
Councillor Tarrant?
Thank you, Mayor Gibbon. Gary, would you be able to just go back to the previous slide? Sorry, just the previous one to that. I just wanted to make a note with the arts development funding. I'm fine with where it is right now. I just wanted to make it noted that there's a couple of items that were traditionally funded through the arts development, so the GP Street Performers Festival and the Real Shorts Film Festival, that are being now funded independently, and so there is going to be more room within that fund, and so I'm comfortable with keeping it at levels and knowing that we'll have more flexibility within it.
No, Councillor Terrence started referencing, you'll see International Street Performers Festival and Grande Prairie Boys Choir. Those were two groups that previously would have applied for festival funding, that in this budget cycle it would be expected that they wouldn't need to. Councillor Logan?
Oh, I'm sorry.
Okay. So if we can go, there was the slide with 3 items on it. Is there any desire to discuss any of these items? See nobody on the screen, then I will ask us to move forward to the next slide. DTS, Mr. Roth.
DTS is this is just their operating amount. Of course, their capital amount. Administration had felt that we would work with them and put it in our capital plan. That allows some access to green trip funding potentially. So their capital request was already dealt with last week as part of the capital presentation, and this is just their ongoing operating amounts.
Councillor Rice.
If I recall, we were going to give them office space in the city service center and assist them with their accounting several years ago. Did that transition happen?
We certainly do have given them the office space. They are located adjacent to our transit area.
Okay, thank you. Is this,
That's right.
how much of this comes from the province?
Mr. Roth.
This is the city's contribution towards the operations of DTS. I'd have to get some more information in terms of their annual budget.
Because I think the province does put in a big whack of money, if I'm not mistaken.
Big whack might be an overstatement. It's not a misstatement. I just think it might be an overstatement. It may be a small whack.
Oh, well, could we find out what the whack is?
If I remember correctly, the total operational budget is not more than $1.4 million or under. So, yeah.
That'd be another 700,000.
Yeah. Well, no. I know that it is not over 1.4 million. There's a significant amount of fundraising, membership fees, and some contributions from other municipalities as well as sponsorship. So, Mr. Roth,
that is correct. That's exactly their budget is just over $1 million. They do get some funding from the County of Grande Prairie, from the United Way, and the rest comes from fees.
Sorry. So you weren't saying that I was right at 1.4. No, I wasn't that accurate, was I? It's just over $1 million.
It's just over $1 million.
Okay. Thank you. Okay. Councillor O'Toole.
Yeah, and just to bring up some more information, they used to get work the bingos and get some money there, but we all know that the bingos has gone away now, so they are short of cash, and they're just making things work out. Thank you.
Councillor Rice.
Periodically, we get complaints. We will get complaints over someone that missed getting picked up after a movie or something. Do we have any sort of a significant role in terms of dealing with citizen concerns?
Mr. Roth?
Our transit staff are the liaisons with DTS, and if they hear about complaints, they will certainly try to work with DTS's management to bring it to their attention and to see that it's resolved. But it's more of a liaison type of role.
Strongly suggest actions?
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay. Councillor so I just want to be clear, we don't have any motions, so if we don't have, nobody's going to be taking any action on this.
Question.
Okay. Let's have one last question. We're not making any budget motions. Let's move on.
Thanks. We did have one for a taxi RFP. I'm wondering how that's relating for like after hours when this is closed. Can you just speak to that, Gary? Is that included in this, or is it totally separate? And I've never heard no more about it after it was happened.
Mr. Roth?
I actually don't have any information on that right now.
Okay, maybe we can get some. Thanks.
So we'll refer that to the appropriate committee for an update. So we'll ask if we can dig that information up and either provide it directly to Councillor McLean or to the appropriate committee. So we'll go to the next slide, Director Roth.
Actually, there's one other item that, while we're talking about the various granting items, just come to our attention this afternoon that the Parks Improvement Program grant was not included in our budget. Just had information passed on to me, and we've been double checking that with finance. We'd certainly apologize for that error. In the past, it was a $25,000 amount annually that was distributed to upon application to various groups that have projects within our park system. Certainly, again, I apologize for that error, and I wanted to be right up front with you to let you know that was missed in the budget preparations.
So, Mr. Roth, you're saying that the way the budget stands right now and is reflected in all of our books, that $25,000 is not
Not in the,
budget. So if council wish to continue the Parks Improvement Grant Program, we'd need a motion to add that.
that's correct.
See a few people in the queue. I don't know if everybody had intended to make that motion, but I'll start with Councillor Rice.
That we put in $25,000 for the Parks Improvement Grant Fund, as my understanding is. It came in a year, for the last several years. It's been included under one area, and that person believed that it was being moved over to the parks area. So everybody thought somebody else was doing it, but the importance of this program can't be taken lightly.
Thanks, Councillor Rice. So that motion is in order. Would add $25,000 per year for each of the 4 years for the Parks Improvement Grant Program. Discussion and debate on that motion. Councillor Clayton.
I'm next, not on this motion.
Not on this. Okay. Councillor Terrence.
Thank you, Mayor Gibbon. Just a clarification. I thought that it was 30,000 the amount every year, wasn't that?
The information that I received from staff was 25.
20,000? Okay. I am supportive of this motion. I think it's a valuable program. I think we need to put it back in.
Okay. Thanks, Councillor Terrence. Councillor McLean.
Thank you, Mayor Given. Just a few more details of what it did, because I know we've added some money in the budget already for putting a lot of new improvements in the park. So what exactly is this $25,000 a year going to do, Gary?
Mr. Roth.
So the Parks Improvement Grant allows for community groups to apply for small grant funding for different projects that they may want to do within the park system. Generally, it is only representing a piece of the costs. In the past, it's been groups such as playground societies that have received a contribution towards the playground that they're raising funds for. We've also had a group that was making some other general improvements to a park. I think it was the outdoor fitness park in Mount View is another example where they've put some dollars towards it.
Okay, thanks very much. I don't see anybody else in the queue, so I will call for the vote on Councillor Rice's motion. A vote in support would add $25,000 in each of the 4 years to support the Parks Improvement Grant Program, which is a pre-existing program. It was not included. So a vote in support would add that back in. I'll call for the vote. Thank you. Yeah, that was one where yes means yes. That's right, Councillor Rice. Okay, so that motion carries. Director Roth.
So we can move on to the next slide.
This one that's on screen.
So earlier this year, we had a request from the Mighty Peace Youth Day Society for just a straight up sponsorship type of contribution, and that was referred to this this budget process. That request for 2015 and 16 is available on the slide there.
And are these amounts shown on screen currently included in the budget?
Yes, they are. Okay. And this was referred by Community Living Committee.
Thanks very much. Councillor Clayton.
Thank you, Mayor Given. Director Roth, was there also not some gift in kind money for the facility? And was that already indicated somewhere else?
Maybe Director of Community Growth? Or
Thank you, Mayor Given. No, we don't have that in our budget area either. It was part of the proposal that we presented to them in terms of a reduction in a sponsorship.
So that support would be in addition to this cash contribution?
Yes, it would be, Mayor Given.
Okay. Councillor Clayton?
Based on that, I'd be prepared to make a motion to amend this amount to include the gift in kind request that the organization had made to council.
So you're suggesting that the cash amount needs to be decreased?
No, they need that 10 plus they need the gift in kind of the facility.
So was it, so just to be clear, was it administration's intention to provide the gift in kind that was requested?
Yes, Mayor Given, it was.
Okay. So,
thank you.
Yeah. Okay, so so I don't think that motion is required. Okay. Councillor Rice?
I just wonder, the integrated pest management plan and recommendations, first of all, I don't know what it is, and secondly, it takes a huge jump, over doubles between 2015 and 2017, and integrated pest management does not mean we'll be able to control Councillor McLean.
I I know that's lighthearted and intended in jest. I'm sure Councilor McLean doesn't take any offense, but we'll be careful with those kind of comments in case somebody could. Director Roth.
So this is actually an internal city program that resides with parks. It probably could have been on a slide all of its own because it doesn't really relate to a community request. The Integrated Pest Management Plan was something that was brought through Community Living Committee to Council. And these are the costs that parks have built into their operating budget to do what they've said they would do in the Integrated Pest Management Plan. So the Integrated Pest Management Plan involves controlling pests, various regulated pests on city property, and also in future looks towards enhancing the weed inspector type of role that we have out in the community. But it's felt that until we address pests on city-owned property, which we are legally obligated to do so, that we need to be doing and concentrating on that first before we work towards any other changes. So administration has actually looked at ways to spread this out over the 4 years instead of introducing it all up front. And so we just wanted, there was a referral at committee to budget, and we wanted to make sure that we captured the numbers so that council was aware and just make sure that all the referrals were brought to your attention.
I would move we do it 54,358 and 54,358. And if you could answer, what are we talking about, pests? Are we talking about deer or mice or weeds?
We're talking about regulated pests. So that's everything from weeds to insects and not necessarily animal species.
Okay. So, okay, Councilor Rice, think of the answer. So your motion was to reflect, if we can have that slide up, to reflect 54,358. Yeah, so the answer is yes. And so your 54,358. So keeping the 2015 amount the same, adding 54,358 to 2016. Okay. So the motion would be to reduce the 2017 amount to 54,358. Okay. So that motion is obviously in order. Discussion or debate, questions or comments? Councillor Logan.
Just so I understand for sure, the initial amount is to prepare the integrated management plan and recommendations, and then the subsequent amount is to implement. Do I have that right?
No, there would be actually some implementation dollars in 2015 in terms of various operational components needed to unroll the plan. The plan's already been prepared and has been presented to council.
Thank you very much for that answer. I would urge council to defeat the motion such that the recommended amount stays the same.
Thanks, Councillor Logan. Mr. Roth, can you tell me what is what is being proposed to be done in 2017? What would be added? Is there additional positions, additional materials, or equipment?
Thank you. Yes, there is actually an added position that was presented when we did the department operating piece around an integrated pest management technician.
So is that reflected in?
That is reflected in the 2017 amount, I believe.
Okay. And
the rest is materials and just operating costs.
So the position is what shows up in 2017. And do we have two different questions? Had that position been previously flagged? Is it on our list of flagged items, integrated pest management staffing? I just want to make sure we don't end up voting on something twice. And Mr. Roth?
No, I don't believe that position was previously flagged.
And can you tell us how much of that 155 goes to the staffing?
I don't have an exact dollar amount. It would take some calculations to be able to pull that up.
Okay. Okay. Any other discussion, debate, or questions or comments? No. Councillor Thiessen?
Just in regards to the last question that you asked, Director Roth, I'm just going through the parks here, and we have integrated pest management already included as part of our parks budget.
I'm understanding that's this, at least the position in 27, the added amount in 2017 is the position that's also reflected in our other binders. Mr. Roth?
Yes, and we already do have an integrated pest management area, and we do have a staff person and some seasonally employed staff that work in that area. This is to enhance, to be able to do all that was presented in the integrated pest management plan, which was adopted by council. So this is to do those things that we had identified in the plan. One of them was to add another position in 2017, as well as some additional resources in 2015 for additional chemical and some other related items.
I'm still a little confused. I'm sorry. I'm looking at the levels of employment. We got FT and FTE, and for 2017, FT goes from 2.58 to 3.23, but then FTE goes down from 4.15 to 3.5. On page 108, if anyone wants to.
108 of the Green Book.
Is that you singing, Jackie?
Yeah, she was singing.
Very comforting.
Mr. Roth?
I think I have the answer for that. That is the FTE. So the FT is the full-time permanent established people in that role. So you can see it goes up in 2017, but the FTEs are temporary equivalents to full-time people. And you can see that those go down in 2017 with the addition of the permanent position.
Mr. Roth, so just to clarify, you're converting a temporary to a established,
That's correct.
and then you're adding more temporary? Because I mean, they would.
Well, and the temporary are seasonally employed. So that's the challenge with the numbers is that we're rounding it up to what's a full-time equivalent, where they are seasonally employed for 6 to 8 months type of thing.
Okay. Okay, so I think we've got a little bit better idea. Councillor Rice's motion was to reduce the amount in 2017 from its 115,955 down to 54,358. Any further discussion or debate on that motion? Seeing nobody in the queue, I'll call for the vote. And that motion does not carry. So we'll move on. I think that was all the two items on that slide were both dealt with. Mr. Anderson, you're back.
I'm back. The next one is mine. As you know, we do a seniors property tax rebate. It's $100. And so we did a survey of municipalities throughout Alberta. And what we found were two others that were doing $100, Strathcona and St. Albert. Nobody else in the province has a rebate. So there's essentially three of us.
And so the seniors property tax rebate is currently included in the budget or not included?
It's included for a $100 rebate.
Okay, so a total of $50,000 per year for each of the.
Correct.
Okay, so that is currently included. If anybody wished to vary that recommendation, we'd need a motion, otherwise it would stay as is. Councillor Rice?
I'm urging you to withdraw this. In fact, I'll move that we withdraw it from the budget. It's a minuscule amount. I'm probably the only one that can speak to this with any great certainty. It makes such a little difference. It's an empty gesture. And I would think Certainly, I never had anybody call me up and say, geez, thanks for that. But I do get a lot of calls regarding, say, franchise fees. So if we were really serious about wanting to give seniors a break, we could look at in the next year or so, we could explore the potential of reducing our franchise fees. But this one is, like I said, it's almost silly. So, not to say that our taxes are too high, but $100 over the course of the annual taxes doesn't go that far.
Thanks, Councillor Rice. So motion to remove the amount for the seniors property tax rebate from the budget. Councillor Logan.
Thank you. I, seeing as I've spoken against so many of Councillor Rice's motions, I've got to speak in favor of this one, and I am one of the minority that would benefit has benefited from this, but it is so small. It's almost beyond a joke. It's almost sort of a slap. I have, once again, in my circles, never heard any positive discussion about this thing at all. Let's just drop it.
Thanks, Councillor Logan. There's a couple others in the queue. I just wanted to ask a question. Mr. Roth, Mr. Anderson. My recollection is that there is sort of a qualification criteria for this, or at least there was in previous years. I know there were some changes with the province. So is there currently any qualification in terms of income testing or requirements for this program?
Yes, there is. They're required to be receiving the Alberta Seniors Benefit Income Subsidy.
Thanks, Mr. Anderson. So on that basis, I'd encourage council to support this, although it is a small amount. Sorry, I'd encourage council to vote against Councillor Rice's motion and allow this to remain in the budget. The amount is small, but for the seniors who qualify, I believe it does provide a benefit. And I can appreciate the reference to some saying, well, they haven't heard about it. It could be because you don't know anybody that qualifies for the seniors income benefit through the province. I mean, ultimately, we're talking about seniors of very modest means. As we all know, anybody on a fixed income of modest means, $100 does mean a lot. And so I would encourage council to vote against the motion to remove this from the budget. Councillor McLean.
Thank you, Mayor Gibbon. I'd urge council to vote against it as well. I was a little shocked to hear Strathcona there, but that might have been next year because they got some money falling out of their pocket, specialized. But St. Albert and Grande Prairie are the highest in property taxes in Alberta, and I can see why this was implemented. I'll be voting no, to be voting yes.
Thanks, Councillor McLean, for really clearing that up for us. Councillor Terrence.
Thank you, Mayor Gibbon. I will be speaking in favor of the motion. Believe that, I was supportive when this program was first put in place, but that was before the province instituted the property tax deferral program for seniors. And so I think that program is much more valuable than this $100. And I think that provides, great value to, especially to the low-income seniors. And, I think the $50,000 room, I think it's, better supported. We can support other initiatives that benefit seniors in other capacities. So I will be speaking in favor, voting in favor.
Okay, thanks very much, Councillor Tarrant. Any other discussion or debate on the motion? I don't see anybody in the queue. So just a reminder, Councillor Rice's motion was to remove this amount from the budget. So a vote in favor would remove the $50,000 per year of each of the 4 years. A vote in opposition would retain that amount for the seniors' property tax rebate. I'll call for the vote. Motion does not carry. Mr. Anderson? Okay, I'm sure you got a slide there for us. Thank you. Okay. Community growth. Oh, sorry. Ms. Catashar.
Thank you, Mayor Gibbon. I'll preface this slide by letting council know that none of these funding amounts are in the budget at this time. So we'll talk about PAZA first, the Peace Area Shed Zone Association. currently funds collected through voluntary contributions, and none of those are legislated, are used for outreach and education. And administration has learned this past year the outreach and education was not able to use all of the funds that they had collected without any contribution from the city. And currently, we do have a member of council appointed to the board, as well as staff to the Outreach and Education Committee, and it's not accounted for as GIK by PASA.
Thanks very much. Councilor Rice?
Do we have a membership last year or money last year or whatever you call it? Because I know we decided not to, and then they came, Councillor Harp was the chair. They came, and it seems to me almost that we backed down.
No, Councilor Rice, if I can, there was a request for the city to participate. Have been a number of overtures from the organization over the years. The city so far has declined.
Okay.
They showed up when Councillor Nelson, former Councillor Nelson from the county, was chair and offered the city, a position on the board at no cost or with no requirement to be a funding partner, and we accepted that, but have not funded so far. Councillor Logan?
I'd like to move that we delete this item from the 2015 budget and have it reviewed for inclusion again in 2016.
Okay. Thanks, Councillor Logan. Just to clarify, just to make it easy on us, none of these are in. so just to switch tracks a little bit, these ones we need a motion to include them, if anything. If there's no motion, then they would not be included. Councillor McLean?
Given I do sit on the board, I am going to make the motion to have PASA included, and I'll leave it as that for $20,000 per year, and I'll do closing, and if no one speaks to it, I'll do why I believe it should be included.
Thanks, Councillor McLean. Anybody care to speak to Councillor McLean's motion to include $20,000 in 2015? Councillor McLean, I'm just looking to make sure that's exactly it. $20,000 in 2015. That was your. Okay.
18 or 20, but somewhere around there.
I'm just talking about the year. The amount was on screen. It's 20,000. You were just proposing for 1 year.
No, I'm proposing every year to be part of it.
That's what I'm asking. So 2015, 16, 17 and 18,
yeah.
To include $20,000 in each of those 4 years for PASA. Okay, so open for discussion, debate. Councillor Logan.
I'll repeat what I just said. Then I would like to see the 20,000 out for 2015 and have it reviewed in the future. And if that takes a motion, and you can suggest the appropriate way to make the motion, other than just defeating, I guess it is just a matter of defeating Councillor McLean's motion, then I would urge you to defeat this.
Okay, thanks, Councillor Logan. Any other discussion or debate before we let Councillor Thiessen?
Thank you, Mayor Bill. I'm going to speak in favor of Councillor McLean's motion. I think, sitting on two watershed committees, the city has Councillor Tarrant and myself on the Wapiti Corridor and the Mighty Peace watershed. I would argue that our airshed are equally as important as our watershed. It's a factor of quality of life, health and wellness, and to be able to sit on the board and provide funding may give us other opportunities to further studies in the area of our airshed and monitor how safely the areas that our residents are breathing. So I would urge Council to support this motion to include funding for this budget going forward to 2018.
Thanks, Councillor Thiessen. Councillor O'Toole.
Yes, thanks very much, Mayor Given. How did we come up with the $20,000? Is that a membership fee or based on per capita? Okay, thank you.
Councillor O'Toole heard the answer. I'm not sure what else did. Was answered that it is a per capita fee. Okay. Is there any other discussion or debate? I'll just say that I won't be supporting the motion. I find this particularly challenging because we have little ability to require any improvements. It's simply for measurement. City of Grande Prairie could support the organization through additional locations if needed, as we've done in the past, but I find it a challenge to be such a partner when we don't have the ability to require the emitters to take any action. I think that is very appropriately a provincial government role. Councillor McLean, to close.
Thank you, Mayor Given. Just short and sweet. It's a multi-stakeholder nonprofit organization. Private business pays for majority of it. Municipalities are very little bit of it. And just from the two that I'll speak to, I'll say three then, okay? You go on their webpage, you'll say you run a gas-powered lawnmower for 1 hour, and it's like running a new car 320 to 420 kilometers. So there's a lot of gas-powered lawnmowers in the city. The two I'm going to speak to is I remember as a kid in Alberta, Chernobyl, and when they were saying certain radiation and travel through air of eating chickens or whatever at the time. And the other one is Grand Cache Highway was closed at one time 2 winters ago because there was a big gas leak. It was in the paper, but it wasn't really broadcast as much as I believe it should have been. The readings were off the wall in Valley View. So all you have to do is look at all the trucks going through us full of liquid and what's produced around us in our county and MD, and you can realize air quality is very, very important. And I believe we should be a contributing membership full out. You can debate the per capita, but I believe it's time we step up to the plate.
Thanks, Councillor McLean. So we'll call for the vote on Councillor McLean's motion. His motion would have the effect of adding $20,000 per year for each of the 4 years of the budget to fund the Peace Airshed Zone Association. So a vote in favor in this case, just to clarify, because it is different, a vote in favor would add the funds. A vote in opposition would leave it as is at 0. So a vote in favor adds the funds to the budget. Thank you. That motion does not carry. There were some additional ones on the slide.
Thanks very much, Mayor. Given the next item is the Community Enhancement Advisory Committee, and administration is recommending that we can work with the public members on this committee, which is the former Take Pride, and assist in having them assist with selection of funding in the beautification grant, as well as selection of the Art for the Utility Cabinet Wrapping Program. Other tasks that the committee could be involved with would be evaluating department programs, which would occur every fall, and there would be no implications to the department budget in taking this approach.
Thank you very much, Mayor Given. If it goes back in history, it used to be the Communities in Bloom, and it went to Take Pride, and now we're at the Community Enhancement. I think they've done a successful job over the years, but I think they've kind of completed their mission, and I would encourage my fellow council members here today to not support this at this present time.
Okay, and so just to clarify, this bunch is a little bit different than some of the previous ones. It's not currently included, so if nobody makes a motion, it would not, there would be no additional funds added for this. Do we have anybody ringing in to add funds to do this? I don't see anybody ringing in, so we'd move to the next one.
Thank you, Mayor. Given the last one on the slide is the Wapiti Corridor Planning Society. Funds requested are basically, or would be basically put towards funding a county position, and administration is recommending we could work with our residents through existing community engagement programs, and administration has also learned that the MD of Greenview is not going to support the financial request that was made of them as well.
So again, this is not currently in, unless somebody wants to make a motion to include it. I would, yeah, so the action here is to include it if somebody's looking to make that motion. Councillor Tarrant.
Just a question for administration. I believe there are some other agencies that we provide minimal funding for, and it's just in regards, we just give them like a meeting room and maybe pay for some meals. I believe the watershed is one of those that type of arrangement. Just wondering if you give me more information on that, what that costs. Do you have any details?
Do you have any specific groups, Councillor?
Well, the watershed, I believe, was one of them that we, I don't believe we provide significant funding for, but we do provide meeting space and I think cover the meals. It's a fairly minimal increase cost each year.
Mayor, given I don't have that information at this time, but I can get that.
Okay. You know, at this time, then I want to make a motion that we fund this, fund the Peace Wapiti Planning Society for $2,500, and just to help cover the cost. I think there still is value in the implementation of the plan. the MD has stepped away as a partner, but the county and the lands directly to the south of us are going to be impacted by this plan, and I think there's some implementation funds that we could help with, and I think we can still be a partner with them in that way.
Okay, so motion to add 2,500. Councillor Tarrant? 2,500?
Yes, yeah.
So motion to add 2,500 per year for each of the 4 years.
Let's go $2,500 for 2 years.
So motion to add $2,500 in 2015 and $2,500 in 2016. Okay, so just so we're all clear on the motion. Of course, that's in order. So discussion and debate on the motion. I will just say that I'll speak against the motion. I believe the intent of the Wapiti Corridor Planning Society was to develop the multi-use plan. I believe that work has been completed. The intent was always to have the government adopt the plan, and for the plan in some form, the provincial government to adopt the plan in some form, or for that plan to inform the eventual land use stewardship act for the region. I think the plan in its current state can do that. I believe that it's now up to the local governments that have jurisdiction over this area to support planning in that area based on the recommendations of the plan and the vision of the plan. And then it would be up to us to choose to support initiatives that would support that plan as sort of has been supported by the City of Grande Prairie. So I don't think that there's any work left to do. It's now up to the municipalities and the government to utilize the community input that had been utilized to develop that plan. So I won't be supporting the motion. Anybody else to speak to the motion? Seeing none, then I'll call for the vote. And in this case, this is a no means no. We'll end the vote. That motion does not carry. So where does that leave us? Ms. Cattasharp. Hello.
Mayor Given, thank you very much. Staff have indicated that $2,500 gift in kind is provided to the watershed.
So gift in kind, no actual.
That's correct, Mayor Given.
Thanks very much. So do we have another slide after this one? Of course we do. Okay. Okay, Councillor Rice.
I just want to make a clarification. The stamped colored concrete is actually an initiative of the Parks Department that's not in the downtown area. They had suggested at one point that a strip of Z-brick along the side would certainly enhance the appearance, but Parks determined from that it's a difficult area to maintain, and so that's where the stamped concrete is a Parks initiative. And I will leave the room while you discuss it.
Okay, so Councillor Rice will declare conflict of interest and exit the room. This is Ms. Cattasharp. Mr. Galante.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. In February 2014, a delegation from the Downtown Association appeared in front of a Community Safety Committee with a request to consider 4 gateway signs or entrance features to the downtown area in combination with some colored concrete, stamped concrete for areas specified. And I have a map for this to put on the screen. So I don't know if we can put the map on the screen. Basically, the stamped colored concrete in this map runs along eastbound and westbound roadway on 100 Avenue. And the other request for consideration is this map here with colored concrete along 99th Avenue and 100 Avenue. The width of this area is 2 meters and 200 meters and 275 meters along 99th. So we consulted with the Parks Department in regards to the possibility to maintain some grass, shrubs, or other forms of a live landscape in the areas proposed. However, Parks indicated that due to the salt and other chemicals used during the snow removal operations, it is very difficult to grow grass even as other forms of cityscape. Even they tried replacing the soil using some sort of fertilizers. They were experimenting for a period of time, and nothing really worked in that area. So in meetings between Parks, Engineering, and Downtown Association, everybody agreed in the use of colored concrete for this area. So the total amount for the concrete is 208,000 plus 299,000, in addition of 200,000 that is considered as a cost estimate for the 4 gateway signs, including design. So the total amount for the request, the referral, is $779,000.
Thanks, Director Conte. Councillor Logan.
Just wanted to know if the expectation is that this would all be paid for by the city, or is there any participation from area businesses, the Downtown Association, or any other interested parties that might be?
Mr. Galante.
Tomorrow you will hear a delegation appearing here in front of you, representing Downtown Association. I'm not sure if they had some conversation already with the membership, but potentially it's an opportunity for some cost sharing.
Councillor McLean.
Thank you, Mayor Given. Councillor Rice was speaking too of, can you put that map back up, please, Horacio, of the figure of the bridge on the west side? And we're talking about a couple things that might be coordinating, but right there, I think there was discussion as well by the Downtown Association that maybe one of the digital signs and some flower pots might go in there. I don't know, but that's was some discussion. So I always wondered why a little piece wasn't part of Downtown Association, but this is not in the budget, is it?
No.
And so...
If somebody wanted to make a motion to include either of these items, then we could do that. Otherwise, we would, if there's no action on either of these, we'd move on and they would not be included in the budget. Oh, sorry, Councillor Clayton, you had rung in there. Councillor Radburn, go ahead.
Thank you, Mayor Given. I would move that we fund Downtown Association entrance signs, $50,000 in 15 and $50,000 in 16.
Okay, thanks very much, Councillor Radburn. So motion to fund $50,000 in 2015 and $50,000 in 2016 towards downtown entrance signs. Okay, so that motion is obviously in order, and I'll call for discussion and debate. Councillor Clayton.
So, point of clarification. So they've asked for 200,000, and the motion is for 100.
Yes.
Okay, thanks.
Okay. Okay. Councillor Logan.
I'm just a little concerned at how we can vote with any real intelligence on this when we have absolutely no idea whether there's a partnership in funding there or not. Seems to me that this is the sort of thing that needs to be tabled for further information. I won't make a tabling motion to hear some feedback on that.
Sure, I think at this point it would certainly, at this point it would set the city's amount that we'd be willing to fund, and if there was a need for additional beyond that, which it appears the original request certainly showed, it'd be up to the organization to find a source for that. So turn your mic on, Councillor Logan, if I can.
Thank you. So we would not be on the hook for 200,000 if, do we know we're not on the hook? Had we better say that now, we're not on the hook if it's only our 200,000 that's out there?
I think Councillor Radburn's motion would be to limit the city's involvement to $50,000 per year for 2 years, so a total of 100,000. That'd be the effect of Councillor Radburn's motion. I'm going to say that
Can we still understand that we could be putting in 100,000 of our own money if nobody else comes to the plate? Is that your intention?
Okay. Councillor McLean.
Thank you, Mayor Given. I won't be supporting this, not because I'm against downtown. You can look in the file strategic plan. There's going to be $20 million going to downtown, $2 million to the library for fixing the greenway. That's $22 million. And it's just extra. I'm very worried about the bottom line. I'll be saying no.
Thanks, Councillor McLean. Councillor Tarrant.
Mayor Given, I will be speaking against the motion as well. I feel that I really want to see entrance features. I think that we should put some nice ones up and make it really an attraction that people would want to see. My opposition is in regards to timing. I think we should wait until we have some of the downtown development done, when people can see that things are happening, that there are some new streetscapes and whatnot, and then we can enhance that by putting signs in at that point. But I think it's a little bit premature to put them on before the work's being done.
Okay. Councillor Radburn? Do you want to let somebody else go ahead first, and you certainly can have the opportunity to close?
Yeah, I'll just wait.
Okay. Councillor Clayton?
Thank you, Mayor Given. I also support Councillor Tarrant's comments. Although I absolutely see the value of enhancing the downtown, I see that there are other avenues to spend money to enhance downtown and entice business development downtown. I think that signs are a little premature, and once we have streetscape, etc., in, this would be the time to put the signs up.
Thanks, Councillor Clayton. I see Councillor Thiessen in the queue. I'll just say that I also won't be supporting the motion for many of the reasons mentioned. I think priority for me is about the basic infrastructure, and then beyond that, the basic infrastructure on public property, and then potentially I'd be willing to support some ways to encourage development of strategic priorities of council on private lands, so I could see some support for private development. And when all of those things are clicking, then I would be in support of doing those sort of finishing touches. I certainly see these items as one of those finishing touches, so I won't support them at this time. Councillor Thiessen?
Yeah, I think everything's already been said, but I too will not be supporting this motion. As it's already been stated, it's a little premature. Actually, when I was looking at this, I was thinking 2019, so hopefully it'll stick around in the budget and the discussion until then. But at this point, I don't have the appetite to spend any more money on the downtown. But if the Downtown Association is looking for signs, I got a whole bunch in my backyard they could borrow for nothing.
I'm not 100% sure they'll take you up on that, but it's nice that the offer's out there. Councillor Radburn, did you care to close?
Thank you, McGivern. Sorry, we won't be contacting you, I don't think, Chris, but thank you for the offer. This was just something that's important to the Downtown Association. I sit on the board. It's a tangible way to support the downtown before we get rolling on the infrastructure investments. So that's why I put the motion forward.
Thanks, Councillor Radburn. I don't see anybody else in the queue for discussion and debate, so I'll call for the vote on Councillor Radburn's motion, which would add $50,000 in 2015 and $50,000 in 2016 for downtown entrance features. Call for the vote. A vote in favor would add that to the budget. A vote in opposition would keep it out of the budget. Sorry, I'm not sure if there's an appropriate way to say that. So yes means add 50,000 each year. No means do not add any. There's a better way to say that. Okay. Okay, and I've got 8 votes. Thank you. That motion does not carry. Councillor Tarrant.
Thank you, Mayor Given. Just wondering if we could have these items referred to the capital budget list as unfunded items so that they remain on Council's horizon.
Sure, certainly we can. So have the downtown entrance feature signs reflected in the city's capital budget as unfunded items for future years. Okay, absolutely. Councillor Clayton.
Thank you, Mayor Given. On the other item that was on the list in regards to stamped concrete, although I don't see this necessarily as something that enhances downtown per se specifically, I do see value in this in regards to that whole entire area, the park and the feature of our community. So I would be prepared to make a motion that we fund the stamped concrete as suggested in the letter.
So can we get that amount again, please? So the stamped colored concrete, 579,000. Councillor Clayton, that was your intention?
Yes.
In 2015?
Sorry, no. I will move that to 2017. And speaking to this motion, I think that in our community, especially in the heart of our city, we need to continually to improve and upgrade what we have. This in 2017 would really bring a highlight to things that are going on in the area and work with potential streetscape plans, etc., that will be happening downtown.
Thanks, Councillor Clayton. So the motion to add $579,000 in 2017 for stamped colored concrete. The areas noted on the maps previous. Okay. Open for discussion and debate. So Terrence?
Thank you, Mayor Given. I will be voting against this for the same reasons listed previously. I think that's, again, a little bit premature. Although 2017 may be the time for that stamped concrete, I think we need to get the downtown plan in place first, and then we can make those decisions at future budget dates.
Okay, thanks, Councilor Tarrant. Any other discussion or debates? I also won't be supporting the motion. Just one additional reason why not, though. I actually have a concern around stamped colored concrete, particularly in the most westerly portion. It actually adds an impermeable surface that would allow any of the snow there and the runoff to go directly into the creek without any filtration prior. And so I personally believe that environmentally stamped colored concrete in that most westerly portion is actually an inappropriate choice. And I would prefer us to come up with a more appropriate solution that would provide some filtering for runoff that would go from there directly into the creek. So that's another reason why I'm not supporting the motion to include this. Any other discussion or debate on the motion? Seeing none, I'll call for the vote. A yes vote means to include this as funded in 2017. A no vote would leave it as unfunded. And I imagine we would still reflect it in our plan as with the previous item, as an unfunded item. Start the vote. Again, a yes vote is to include it in 2017. That motion does not carry. So please, can we reflect that item, those improvements, as unfunded in the capital plan, so that we certainly don't want to lose sight of them. Where are we at here? So we're just about 4 o'clock. We could certainly let Councillor Rice know that we've moved on from that item. We're at about 4 o'clock here. What do we have? One slide. So, Council, should we try to go through this final slide, and then that way we're on track for tomorrow to start? I believe we start tomorrow with community groups. Is that correct? Mr. Anderson's saying that's correct, so we'll just wait for our 2 colleagues to make it back into the room. I suppose they can hear the introductions on this slide as they come in. I think, Mr. Roth, at least the first 2 look like they're yours. I can see that there's at least some duplication there. Mr. Roth.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. Given the first 2 items are within community living area. The first item is a referral from the Community Living Committee. This was to look at increasing the low-income recreation access program from what it is at currently now funded at $100 per person, increase it to $300 per person. What we found with this program is that in past, we've had about $44,000 worth of funds budgeted, and that was a equivalent amount of that came in applications, but our clients tended to put the amount on their credit on their account and then not access it, attempting to save it up for a one-time larger purchase. Of course, the LIRA funds can be used for a variety of recreational programs with the city. They can use it at Eastlink Center or any of our arenas. They can also use it for day camps and a variety of city-operated recreation programming. So the referral from committee was to increase it to the $300 per person amounts. And those are the total amounts that are on the slide.
Okay, Mr. Roth, just one question from recollection of the committee meeting. A family, $300 per person is actually for each person in the family would qualify for that same amount. Is that correct?
Yes, that's right. And of course, the other piece of information is that this is for people that are below the core needs threshold. So this is for low-income people.
Okay. So, and are these amounts in the budget?
Sorry, I'm just getting some information sent to me here.
So the main concern is, are these currently reflected in the budget? So if there were motions, are they motions to put it in, take it out?
This would actually be an increase. In the 2015 budget, there's $92,000 budgeted. This would actually increase it. Again, this is a bit of a projection as to how many clients would be using it, but increasing it to the $300 would require what is on the slide.
So there is money currently in the budget, 92,000.
Yes.
So the difference is actually what so we need a motion to fund the amounts on this, the amounts on the screen, which actually just be the difference. Councillor Tarrant?
Thank you, Mayor Given. I would move that we increase the amount noted for the low-income recreation grant.
So maybe we can just say that the amounts available to the low-income recreation access program be amended to the amounts reflected on the screen.
Yeah, good. And speaking to this, obviously it's a very valuable program for low-income people in Grande Prairie. I think it encourages the recreation with them, and I think a valuable service that's been well used. I also want to note that it isn't truly the cost to us, because it's just it's lost revenue at any of these recreational facilities. So.
Thanks, Councillor Tarrant. I'll also speak in support of the motion. This is revenue that we might not otherwise have, I guess, is the other sort of challenge. These are people that likely wouldn't be able to utilize the facilities or programs if they didn't have this support. And just to speak to the increase between the previous program and this one, a major part of the feedback, as Mr. Roth said, was that there were a number of people identified that they were saving up to get a membership, specifically to the Eastlink Center. At the committee, we were intentional about the $300 amount because it ensured that of larger families families of more than, I guess it would take, families of 4 would be very close to the value of a family membership at the Eastlink Center. So the intention was to make it so that as families got larger, they were closer to being able to pay for an Eastlink membership. And so a smaller amount doesn't even get them close. And so there was some discussion about providing a free membership, and the committee rejected that, but said as families get larger, to help them get closer to being able to have that membership, that $300 amount was appropriate. So, Councillor Rice?
Council to vote against this motion. I didn't hear anything that said, well, I think the program is valuable. I didn't hear anything that said we ran out of money last time. And I guess the committee decided it's getting close to Christmas. They were feeling quite generous or something. I was at the committee meeting, but I didn't hear any rationale to allow that. My experience is, and I very strongly feel, that people really appreciate something when they've got some skin in the game. So while I have no difficulty in providing them with a subsidy, I would not want the subsidy to be large enough that they can get a free membership. So I'm urging you to defeat the motion. There's $92,000 in the budget. I think that is a sufficient amount of money, and we go with the amounts that are in the budget, not add more.
Councillor Tarrant?
Thank you, Mayor Gibbon. Just responding to Councillor Rice's comments, the $300 per person, that only covers, like the quarter of a cost of a membership. So you still have to have significant, skin in the game, as you put it, to access this. But this just helps out.
And just further to that, if I left that impression in my comments, but at $300 per person, family of 4 would be $1,200, and Eastlink family membership is $1,200 or $1,300. So it takes until a family of 4, you don't get close. But beyond that, it does provide that benefit to larger families. So, Councillor Thiessen?
Thank you, Mayor Bill. Director Roth, just a question. How much of that fund was used back in 2014?
Mr. Roth?
I don't have the 2014 numbers because we're still partway through that year. In 2013, for example, there was $42,000 in credits put onto people's accounts. But only $8,744 of that was drawn back. So we had 420 people access it, make application, had the money put on their account, but not everybody had obviously had used that their full amount.
Okay, thank you. Okay, any further discussion or debate? I don't see anybody in the queue, so we'll go to Councillor Tarrant's motion. that would increase the amounts available for the LIRA program, Low Income Recreation Access Program, to the amounts shown on the screen. Any further discussion or debate? Seeing none, I'll call for the vote. A vote yes would add the additional funds to the budget. A vote no would retain it at its existing level of 92,000. Start the vote. Thank you. That motion carries. Okay, next was transit. Mr. Roth.
So this was a referral out of the exact same committee meeting. We had, the intent was to create a free transit pass system for people also meeting falling below the core needs threshold. This was starred as an amount, dollar value, but it's not necessarily an actual dollar value. In recreation, of course, we have a system where we apply credit to a person's account. The transit one would be giving free passes to those who qualify, who fall below the core needs threshold. So this is more of a recognition of the dollar amount of those what those passes would be for that service.
So this amount is in the budget, Mr. Roth? Again, I'm sorry, just to clarify. What is currently?
This amount is not in the budget.
Councillor O'Toole?
Mayor Given, I'd like to make a motion to put the following numbers in the according years in the budget.
Okay. So the amounts that were shown
Absolutely.
on that slide? Okay. Thanks very much, Councillor O'Toole. Councillor Rice?
Why isn't it in the budget? I mean, we've done this for many years, so why is it all of a sudden, pulled out of the budget when we've, this is not a new program?
There are some portions of the program that are new. Mr. Roth can speak to that.
Yes, there are some amounts that some clients qualify for free transit passes for groups, people that are on programs such as AISH. This is a different, a new program where anybody across the board who falls below the core needs threshold amounts would then qualify for free transit passes.
Councillor Rice, do you want to speak to that?
Speaking against the motion, it's a very worthy program. I don't think this year is the year that we add new services. I think that, we have a budget that so far looks like it's going to be finally balanced between sport, culture, recreation, cultural, social needs. And I just don't think you just start adding anything in at the last minute.
Thanks, Councillor Rice. I see Councillor Radburn in the queue.
Thank you, Mayor Gibbon. I'm supportive of both previous program and this, but Ken, my question is, this is revenue that really isn't lost because generally these people wouldn't access those services. And it doesn't increase our cost of delivering those services. So how is it reflected in the budget? I don't get it.
I mean, it's a worthwhile question. I mean, do we collect additional property tax dollars to fund this?
No, we don't. It's not currently reflected in there, but essentially it is a foregone revenue, but you're quite correct. If people don't use it, then it's not foregone.
So do these have an impact on the property tax increase?
No.
Thank you. Any other discussion or debate? Seeing nobody in the queue, then I will call for the vote. A vote in favor would support these allowances, I suppose, allowances in the administration's operating plan. But as we just heard, actually don't have an impact on taxes. One more, council. Everybody's vote registered. Thank you. That motion carries. Okay. I think there were two items here that we've just dealt with previously, Mr. Roth. The community Enhancement Advisory Committee, Peace Airshed Zone Suit. Yeah, I think this is the same, although the other one was PAZA, and this one is PAZS. I'm pretty certain that they're the same. Okay. Okay, so let's here. We're getting towards the end of the slide and the end of the day, Council. So we'll move on to Royal Canadian Legion. Is this Ms. Catasharp or Mr. Roth can speak to this one? I mean, I know why it's here, and I can speak to it, but is there Ms. Catasharp?
My apologies, Mayor Given. It just clicked in. The request from the Royal Canadian Legion would be to cover off council sponsoring the Remembrance Day ceremonies for each of the next 4 years of the budget cycle.
Okay, thanks very much. Councillor O'Toole?
Yes, I would like to make the motion that this stays or gets included in the budget for the full costs of the rental of the facility. Well, we've talked about this for many times over the years, and I'd like to just encourage our council members to. This is for November 11th. We know that it was a big, successful, huge event this year, both the indoor one and the outdoor one, and I just don't think it necessarily should have to come to council every year.
Thanks, Councillor O'Toole. So that motion would be to include the amounts that were shown on screen of $6,100 per year for each of the next 4 years. Councillor Tarrant?
Could you just tell me whether this is this new funding, or like have we funded this at this level in the past?
It's Catasharp.
Thank you, Mayor Given. Yes, this funding has been in place for several years now, and it has always come out of the council budget.
Okay. Councillor Rice?
Yeah, I'll support the motion. I really believe in it. I just don't know, why wasn't it in the budget? Like we've done this year after year after year, and all of a sudden at the last minute, we're hucking stuff in as if it was a big surprise. So I don't know why it wasn't included in the budget that we were handed out originally.
Okay, thanks, Councillor Rice. Okay, so I don't see anybody else in the queue. I'll call for the vote on the Councillor O'Toole's motion to add that $6,100 per year for each of the next 4 years. Vote yes would add that to the budget. Thank you. That motion carries. And then the last item is a more recent referral just from committee meeting this week. Mr. Roth?
Yes, at Community Living Committee a few days ago, committee had recommended to add a $50,000 amount for sponsorships. Primarily, I think the intent was around recreation and or cultural related events, but certainly that hasn't been included in the budget since that was only referred a few days ago.
Councillor Clayton?
Thank you, Mayor Given. I just want to confirm, Director Roth, in the past, there was $20,000 allocated, and we've already approved 32 today for sport-specific sponsorships. Is that correct?
The sport-specific sponsorship would be a new allocation of 32,000.
So
that's,
in the past, there was 20 that was sort of blanket for whatever?
I believe so, in a different budget area.
Okay, so I'd be prepared to make a motion. I'd be prepared to make a motion to have $18,000 go into a sponsorship line item to enhance the existing $32,000 sport budget to bring us a total of $50,000, which overall is up from $20,000.
Okay, so just to clarify, so is your intent specific to sport?
This one will be just a general sponsorship because the 20 before sport was coming out of that. Some sport was coming out of that 20. So now this isn't.
So why don't we do this? If your intention is to add an additional $18,000 beyond what exists, what we voted on previously, and what already existed in the budget, why don't we just say add an additional $18,000 to the sponsorship budget?
Sure, as long as it's not clarified, or it doesn't say just sport, right? This is $18,000 to sponsorship.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. This is asking for 50, and I'm saying 18.
Yeah, but I just to clarify, it's isn't part of the sport one. It is intended to be sponsorship in general. Yes. Yeah. Okay. that motion's in order. Just want to clarify exactly where. So increase the sponsorship budget by $18,000 per year for each of the next 4 years. Okay, got that clear, Councillor Rice?
Sorry, I missed that committee meeting. They must have been having an awfully good time. Come on, get serious. We're not adding new stuff. What, you just sat at that committee meeting and thought stuff up like there was an unlimited pile of money or something? No, we have lived this long without this kind of sponsorship category. We've already increased sponsorship in another area. No, and if Gary says this is 50,000 new money, what happened to the other 20 that apparently was in there before? Is it in there somewhere else? Just hiding? So we got 20 in there, and then we got 32 in there, and now we're going to add 50. No, vote against this motion and say, geez, give your head a shake.
Sure, Councillor Rice. So the motion's actually for 18,000.
I know that, but
to clarify, your remarks and said.
But he did say there's 20 in there already.
That's right. Yeah, and Councillor Rice, I can pass on that at the committee meeting, this came as a response to a delegation that was speaking about a new festival. Their request was that they would be going forward for festival funding, but they were looking for additional sponsorship. And rather than have a discussion about adding money specifically for that event, the referral came as a perhaps the city suggesting that perhaps the city needed more flexibility to be able to deal with sponsorship requests from a variety of different types of events that would come forward. So that's the reason that it came. The committee didn't just say, let's take sponsorship out of the air. It was in response to a community delegation. Councillor Clayton.
I guess I need some clarification. The $32,000 is a new line item that got passed today for sport sponsorship. To clarify, there is already $20,000 in the budget. If this motion were successful, would it cancel that 20, or it would be in addition?
It would be in addition.
Okay, so I would like to amend my motion. I feel that that sport and culture need to be treated equally within our community. They're both equally as valuable to each other. So I'd be prepared to make this motion for $12,000 to a total, which would therefore have sponsorship at $32,000 as general sponsorship, which would be equal to the sport sponsorship previously passed.
So you're going to rescind your previous motion.
Yeah.
And put it to 12,000.
Exactly.
Okay. Thank you. Okay, sure. So Councillor Clayton's chosen to amend or rescind her previous motion, make a motion to reflect $12,000 per year for each of the next 4 years. Open for discussion, debate on that motion. I'll just say that I believe the sponsorship line has been fully subscribed each of the past number of years. It does sponsor everything from the Farm Family of the Year at the Peace Country Ag Show to Bonspiels to a variety of different events. And so it isn't specifically just cultural events. It has been used to support a variety of others, including, I think, in the past, some of the sporting events. So that fund is a little bit broader than that. I certainly, on the basis of the 32,000 that was added previous, I don't see a 50,000 being needed. But I certainly would have preferred the 18,000. So I know that this was a priority, or was an item that Council did discuss previously this year. But any other discussion or debate on Councillor Clayton's motion to add 12,000 per year for each of the next 4 years? Councillor Thiessen.
Thank you, Mayor Bill. I'm actually going to speak in favor of Councillor Clayton's motion, and part of that being is it was my general understanding that all sponsorship, sports, recreation, everything came out of one pot that was limited to $20,000. Now we're expanding the pot to 32 plus 32, it's $64,000, which from what we used to do is a $44,000 increase over our old sponsorship. So I think it's a really good motion, and I encourage Council to pass it.
Thanks, Councillor Thiessen. Any further discussion or debate? Seeing none, I'll call for the vote. Thank you. And that motion does carry. Do we get to the end of the slides? Whoa, hey. Well, we took a little bit of overtime to do it, but we did get to the end of the slides, so that will conclude our work for today. We we absolutely can leave our stuff. I think this building's relatively secure. And we will start. We will start again tomorrow morning. I think we're scheduled to start at 9 a.m. As we have the last couple of days, and I believe are we starting with community group presentations? Okay, thanks very much. So we will call our meeting adjourned. Thank you.